idea functionally what I'm doing.
Months until I'm customizing my pussy lips. I'm very excited.
For fucking the giggles.
Yo, you ain't getting a candy bar, bitch.
I have 1 round left. Just enough for myself.
What up, everybody?
Wow.
It's a fucking podcast.
I have returned.
He's
You
back.
guys know that Richie is in fact alive. Here he is.
Yay.
The modern art is finished.
It's incredible. He lives.
I am here, alive.
Sophisticated. Older. Adult.
Fucking exhausted.
Fucking exhausted.
Literally.
I couldn't not make the joke.
His girlfriend was visiting. This is a joke. I was wasting
I'm
time.
very high energy today, by
Good.
the way. And not in a good way.
Bad.
I'm high strung because I've drank way too much coffee.
How much coffee would you say you drank? Would you
Got a
say
bit of anxiety going on. I would
10
say I've
million?
drank a lot. Yes, 10 million. 100 billion cops killed. World is a fuck.
born to drink coffee?
Born to drink coffee. 3 million cups of coffee.
8 trillion,
World is a fuck.
4,067 billion, 487,672 coffee beans.
World's a fuck.
I love that image so much. It's one of my favorite images.
It's good. It's a classic.
Truly is.
Should we just get to the first fucking there's little banter going on here other than my high strung anxiety from all this coffee that I've drank, so I feel like we should just roll into the big clusterfuck that I know is coming, which is the Kong discussion. I had told myself that I was gonna get HBO Max briefly enough to watch the Snyder Cut and this movie, like just to watch the Snyder Cut out of spite so I could complain about it a bit better than I currently can, and then to watch Kong because I was like, oh, I'll have a subscription. I should just watch this movie because I'm vaguely interested in it. Then you said you hate it, and then I watched the Red Letter Media review where they were like, it's okay, it ain't great. And I saw a bunch of clips from it. What?
I'm the one that said I hated it.
No, Richie said he hated it as well.
Really? I thought he said he didn't like it. It was like
No, he
Fucking
messaged.
terrible.
He put a message into Discord later that night. I think I was like one of the only people on still, and he was like, "The longer I sit here,
Yeah.
I hate it.
nice.
I think I hate it." It was pretty much what you had said, I believe. So then, as a combination of those two things, I think I then took a long, hard think about it, and I was like, "Why am I going to waste my time doing this?"
Yeah. So you
don't
don't
think
mind
I'm
getting
gonna do it.
spoiled, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't really give a fuck. Like
Okay, cool.
I watched I went into the Red Letter Media review being like I don't care because they're probably gonna spoil stuff. And then as I watched it, I was actually kind of impressed at how they danced around most things whilst also kind of explaining a lot of the movie and spoiling like a few things, but not major things. But I know a fair bit of it, and I've seen like shots of it. I know a lot of like what they did with the artistic direction of it and the cinematography and stuff, and I know a lot of the plot elements. And frankly, I guess I don't give a fuck, so I might not watch it. And even if I do watch it, I have a feeling anything you spoil probably won't matter because I know I'm just getting into like a fucking 2-hour long monster punch fest that's written by like a 12-year-old anyway. So go for it. I don't give a fuck.
I mean, I guess I could go then, seeing as I'm the one who has, I think, the most opinions on it.
Okay.
And I can have some opinions because I have seen a fair bit of it. Not all of it, obviously, but I watched a couple reviews, like I said. And I have some thoughts from what I've seen. But I'm interested to hear you complain about it, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, all right, so we're starting, I guess. I'm going into this review as objective as I possibly can. Like, regardless of who I wanted to win, blah, 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 who I like better.
Unbiased, you would say.
Yeah. That's how I am trying to do this. So overall, I stick to my original assessment on Brandon's scale of thumbs, 2 sideways thumbs. And the reason I give it 2 sideways thumbs is because the fight scenes themselves were very cool. And the movie was very pretty.
I have seen shots of the movie that look pretty impressive.
Yeah.
The whole fight scene, I saw many clips of the whole fight scene in like Tokyo or wherever, where it's very like neon lit.
Yeah, it's very
and,
cool.
It does look kind of nice.
That is the only praise I could kind of give that movie. Well, the fight scenes were cool, and artistically, it was very nice. The negatives, plot was utter garbage. Maybe we kind of knew that going into it because
Yeah,
of
I'm not
it being a
surprised by
versus movie, but plot was terrible. The human plot, there was like one character I liked, and then the rest was just garbage again. Made no
Yep.
sense.
I heard the human plot stuff, and from what I've seen of
It was useless.
it seems like the human plot stuff isn't even prevalent. Like there's like barely any of it.
They
But
could've-
everything that
Most of it-
is there makes no sense.
They could have
Right.
literally taken out the human plot with like the conspiracy theorist and the kids, and could have had like the same movie almost.
Yeah, they
Like-
literally do nothing the entire movie.
Like they're literally just there to be like, oh my god, look what's happening. But they could have just shot it in a way that like wasn't them even there, and we could have gotten the same information.
Maybe we could have given Lance Riddick like more than 5 seconds of screen time, and he could have explained all this stuff.
And
That was a big ass paycheck that went nowhere.
yeah,
Well, that's a lot like Godzilla 2014, isn't it?
I
Big
guess.
ass
Yeah.
check,
Yeah.
not great,
Yeah. Yeah.
nowhere. Which is hilarious because I was recently, not to get too far off the topic here, but this is actually kind of pertinent to the discussion. I was recently made aware that all these MonsterVerse fucking movies are like done by a completely different director every single time, and I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
They're all different people. The dude who did Godzilla 2014 did not do King of the Monsters, and the guy that did King of the Monsters did not do Kong Skull Island, and the dude who did this movie did not have any involvement in the previous 3. Which says a bit about what I would complain about when I have a chance, because I think there's some like odd fucking like just like artistic dissonance between this movie and the ones that came before it.
Oh,
Absolutely.
more than artistic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, we'll get there, I assume. Please continue.
Yeah, so I guess let me just get into the overall plot and why it's terrible. So the beginning of the movie happened, and I'm going to try to not be super spoilery. The beginning was cool. I enjoyed the beginning. Company making, spoiler alert, Mecha Godzilla gets Godzilla all fucking riled up and shit, and like that was cool. Kong being on the island in like that containment field was interesting. And then like the shit that I'm gonna complain about most starts to happen, where it's like so some people are talking and they're like, we got to keep him on the island, but he's getting too crazy, so he's gonna break out of the facility, and then if he does that, Godzilla's gonna come murder him. And then they do this like, well, what are you afraid of? He can't take care of himself. And then it's like, nah, he's just gonna straight up die. And to keep it short, they get him off the island because they need him to go find Hollow Earth. And
Yeah,
then
that's a real big part of this movie for whatever fucking reason.
Yeah,
like, out of
and then,
nowhere. Even though it's been referenced in previous movies, but in this one it's like a major plot point, and everything I've seen of it is some of the doofiest shit ever. Which is where I would start to complain about the fucking dissonance between like this movie and the way the other ones are written, where like this one feels clown shoes to the fucking extreme, dude.
Yeah. Hollow Earth in the last one was just underground, underwater tunnels that Godzilla used to like navigate
Yeah.
the world. Now it's literally an entire world just in the earth that for some reason no one knew about until just now.
They knew about it because Red Letter Media showed clips that I forgot about, which I've only seen Godzilla 2014, but they showed clips from like all the movies of them referencing it.
Well,
So
yeah,
it's
no,
like,
no, no. I mean, yes, but I mean, like, again, has to do with the directors too. It wasn't shown to be what it was in this movie.
okay.
Like I said,
Well,
it was mainly like implied to be like tunnels underground that Godzilla can use, and yeah, they were like really huge, obviously, and were like the remnants of a lost civilization. But in this movie, they're just straight up fucking literally a giant hole in the planet that now their satellites can pierce, and it's like, hey, look,
it's a different brain behind the movie, you know,
yeah.
coming up with their own shit.
It's literally just Journey to the Center of the Earth shit, just like out of nowhere. And apparently, this is where all the Titans came from, and it's
Yeah, and they
host of
also-
a bunch of creatures. It was
Yeah.
like a giant CGI showcase where it's like we have this much budget, we need to pad for time.
They also like completely just randomly wrote in the plot point of like, oh yeah, and all the Titans know where it is. Like just
Yeah.
latently. It's just like something that they know. It's like in their DNA. They just like absolutely know where it is. Thus, Kong can show us where it is because he just fucking knows, dude. Like he's got it in his boner somewhere, deep in his DNA.
Yep. So that's the thing.
Also, off screen, apparently Godzilla murdered like every other Titan. Apparently, that's a plot point.
Literally a throwaway line.
Wait.
That
No,
doesn't
it
make
didn't.
sense.
Yeah, that the Red
I
Letter
missed
Media
that
said
part.
there was a line in the dialogue where they said that he just killed
It's-
like every other
It's
Titan.
so throwaway and vague. I don't think
I-
they're even going to stick to that.
I
for
don't
the
even
Yeah,
future.
they won't
remember
use
that
it
part,
in the
dude.
future.
I don't
In future
remember that
movies,
part
there
at
will
all.
be more
Because that's
Titans
why
on Earth.
that's why they're hiding Kong so hard is because
Well, no, they
Godzilla
fucking-
literally went around.
right. Like the whole point of that's another thing I'll get to. This whole idea that there's a blood feud between Kong and Godzilla makes zero fucking sense.
Yep.
One, because they literally do nothing to pretext it. They hate each other.
Do they really
Kong-
say that? Because the trailers make it look like it was just, oh, we need Kong because Godzilla's fucking shit up. But do they literally say
No,
like,
yeah,
oh no, they
blood
hate
feud.
each other?
Yep, blood feud.
Okay. What?
It makes zero sense because Kong isn't old enough to know that, which actually totally seems like that throughout the course of the movie. Like Godzilla just has a massive hate boner for Kong, but Kong's just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why is
Right.
this lizard trying to kill me? But and spoiler alert,
I've heard.
they don't tell you anything about that feud ever again.
Right.
You kind of see in the throne room is there's a bunch of skeletons that are Godzilla-esque as
Yeah.
well as King Kong-esque. But why that's in the throne room of the Kong civilization? Why there's only
Also-
apparently a Kong civilization? There's no
Yeah,
Godzilla
all right. Well,
shit.
I'll get to that. Like
It's
I said,
almost
a
like
little
it's-
long-winded here, but
Yeah,
Almost like it's a shittily written plot point.
it's so
because they just-
bad.
Because
Oh,
they
it's
just
terrible.
needed the monsters to punch each other for however many
It's
minutes
terrible.
to get you in a seat in a
Look,
theater.
let me surmise it as quickly as I can. You know those movies that people watch? It's like, oh, it's just fun. You just gotta turn your brain off. This movie literally requires you to like turn your
Yeah.
brain the fuck off. Because like every other scene, there's something jumping out at you where it's like that makes no fucking sense.
oh yeah, it's crazy.
Like none whatsoever.
So continue though, where they have Kong off the island because they need him to find Hollow Earth. Godzilla just hunts him down while also hunting down Apex facilities that are making Mechagodzilla. I don't know why
What?
Kong takes precedence over Mecha Godzilla.
Wouldn't it make so
But-
much more sense if they just rolled with the way it was presented in the trailer, where it was just like, oh, Kong, like, and I mean, I can sit here and I can complain about the plot point of Godzilla randomly turning from being like Earth's like proxy protector almost by accident to instead being I'm gonna fucking fuck shit up because you're making Mecha Godzilla. But that's besides the point. Wouldn't it have made more sense if they just rolled with that and they were like, oh, let's just get Kong to where we know he's going to be next so we can have the big CGI punch fight because he's just going ape shit due to Mechagodzilla instead of writing in a bullshit blood feud that makes no sense? Like, wouldn't that have just been a better way to handle it?
I guess.
I think it would have been good, but it would have been better, right? Like, that's the
Yeah.
way the trailers kind of presented it, to be honest. They didn't mention anything about just like, oh yeah, they just hate each other. Like, what?
Blood feuds, man.
Yeah. So continue. Godzilla stops caring about Mecha Godzilla and goes to just fuck up Kong, who's literally drugged out of his mind you, for like half the movie, which is odd.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they're on the ship and there's like a big screen that shows his big monkey body and it says 80% sedated. Now, the amount of sedative in that thing's blood to make it like, not like be asleep is like it killed like 10 elephants. Like,
How
easy.
is he not like ODing? How is he capable of fighting
It's only 80%.
with that much shit?
It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes zero fucking
All
sense.
right, Kong clearly is Super Saiyan. If he didn't have 80% of that sedation going on, he'd destroy the Earth. Clearly.
Clearly. And
So then Godzilla shows up. He fucks up some people. It was kind of cool. And then he fights Kong. And spoiler alert, it's pseudo even, but Godzilla wins because, he drags him down in the ocean. And then they like have to bullshit away that Kong doesn't just straight up drown because Godzilla's dragging him to the bottom of the ocean.
which I found
and-
hilarious.
And people just launch depth charges. And then that distracts Godzilla to let him go. Like that's literally it. And then Kong just lays down because he's like half drowned, and they shut off their power systems and like, look, we submit. It's silly.
What? What do you mean they shut off their power
Yeah, they're like,
system?
oh, Godzilla's only fighting because we're like threatening him, so shut down
okay.
the power, and Kong's done, so he's not gonna fight. So he's the alpha. He'll just run away.
He'll be more precedent to go get Mecha
Yeah.
Godzilla.
So the way
But
they get
then-
around that is they literally just fly in some helicopters to then airdrop Kong in the middle of Antarctica, which also makes zero fucking sense.
What this
Because those
weird-
helicopters should not be able to fly in the middle of fucking Antarctica.
All right, I saw a fair amount of this movie between like the RLM review and like one other review that I'd watched, but some of this shit you're saying I had no idea about and is fucking hilarious.
It is pretty
just, pi-
funny.
just picturing it in my brain.
It no sense. Every single second, every single moment, nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
Wait till we get to explaining how they defeat Mechagodzilla, because you'll get
I've heard-
mad.
I haven't seen clips of it because RLM did a pretty good job of not spoiling that part of the movie, but they did explain that it's basically like a big dumb like wrestling match between like
Oh, nope.
Godzilla and Kong.
Nope, it has
versus
nothing to do with
Mechagodzilla.
the fight.
Okay, but the fight itself is like
The fight's good.
it's good. I heard it was like somewhat comical in the way
No,
that
I mean,
it was
I
like
enjoyed the
choreographed.
fight. Like I said, I think the fighting in this movie was actually one of the better
I
points of it.
disliked the previous fight of just Godzilla and Kong, like the one right before it. I thought that fight was terrible.
See, I actually enjoyed it to a point. To a point. We'll get to that.
Anyway, keep complaining. This is
Yeah.
entertaining.
So keep in mind that Godzilla fights Kong for the first time, and for the most part, it seems kind of even. He doesn't get blasted with atomic breath. Godzilla's claws are shown to like literally just kind of like rip through him a bit. So obviously Godzilla has the upper hand, but as like a strength point, very fairly even. Like even underwater, Godzilla comes charging at him, and Kong just like grabs his arms and headbutts him and then like swims away. But so pretty even. Now, fast forward to Antarctica, and we get to Hollow Earth, and I mean that's cool. I don't know if you have anything to say on that, Anthony. I think artistically it was kind of cool.
It was whatever. I don't know. It was big. It was CG New Zealand with giant monsters
CG New Zealand. I
and
like
a
that.
lot of monkey statues, and it's like,
Yeah.
all right, cool.
Kong pseudo gets his ass beat again by these weird flying monsters. Again, this is under the premise that he has enough sedative in his bloodstream to fucking kill 5 elephants. And then he gets to his throne room, just by magic messenger pigeon bullshit. And
Finds the magic axe.
this is where it starts to get a little wonky. So
Oh.
he gets in, and there's a
Magic
throne
axe.
room.
Wait,
and
you just said magic axe. Was that axe in the trailer a literal axe?
yes,
Yes.
literally.
That's hilarious.
So he gets to the throne room, which has a very comically sized throne meant for a big boy Kong. And I guess the room is littered with these axes or Godzilla skeletons or some shit. And he picks it up, he puts it in the spot, and like it gets like charged up with like
There's a
the
weird.
power of Hollow Earth, which
Yeah.
is what, like the people, the whole reason people are going to Hollow Earth is to get a power source, which apparently can be
Yeah.
downloaded. Mind
Yeah,
you.
that it makes no fucking
Yeah.
sense. Because first off, why the axe works that way? There's like a perfect recess for it, even for the handle, which doesn't make sense. That he puts into the ground, and there's like a cool Godzilla Ouroboros tribal tattoo in the ground that powers up like Godzilla, and it charges the axe. And then yeah, the science expedition who have been shadowing Kong pretty overtly this entire time, like lands, sets out a CGI spider robot
And downloads the power
that
source.
that cuts out a chunk, and they're like, we need this power source. It's like, okay, so they'll bring that back. But no, it just like uploads the waveform, and then there's somehow a pipe worth of it going into Mechagodzilla. Like, it's literally, there's no cuts between those scenes. There's the downloading, the spider robot picks it up, there's a downloading bar, it finishes, and then there's liquid energy being poured into Mechagodzilla in a
Yeah.
continuous scene, and it makes no sense.
And also, while so Kong puts his axe in the ground and it gets charged with the special energy, and for some reason that makes Godzilla just know exactly where he is, and it just so happens in the middle of Hong Kong, Godzilla just atomic breaths the ground until it makes a literal hole to where Kong is.
Talking.
Which that also undoes. There's this whole thing that there's like this like weird 2001: A Space Odyssey wormhole thing to get there. But no, he just blows a hole in the earth,
Yeah.
and now you could just go to Hollow Earth.
I think
Yeah.
my brain is twisting a little bit.
For some reason, and this is another complaint I have, they can't stick to a power level for fucking atomic breath.
No.
One moment it can't blow through like Amudo from 2014, and in this movie it's cutting through buildings like a laser beam and making a fucking hole to the center of the earth.
Just like Superman lasers and Justice League.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
It's
Literally
it's
the
kind
same
of
thing.
comical.
Oh, and then we get the most wasted death for the most wasted character ever is Evil CEO's daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Now that they have the power source and Godzilla's blast a hole in it, that actually doesn't do anything. It just wakes up these like chickens, but they're Hollow Earth, but they're Hollow Earth chickens, so they're giant and murderous. So I mean that's bad for the people. So they're like, "Oh shit, we got to get to the ship." And they all get to the ship fine, really. There's just a bunch of no-names that die, so it's no problem at all. And they take up on these like hovercraft ships, And even though there's like no problem and they could just fly past it, the evil CEO's daughter goes, shoot fucking Kong for no reason. We need to get past him, even though they could fly in all directions. And so they shoot him, and he just grabs them and squeezes the ship, and it explodes, and they're dead. It like completely pointless.
it was bad. So
And the protagonist smartly then just fly around Kong and achieve the exact same thing.
So now, I forget. Does Kong just like jump and then like gravity takes over?
Yeah, he just
so
jumps.
He jumps the length of the hole from Hong Kong to the center of the fucking Earth. Because of gravity, I guess. And thus begins the second fight between Godzilla and Kong. And again, visually, it's very appealing. And you know what? It looks like Kong's got the upper hand. Kong beats his ass a little bit.
A character literally comments that round 2 goes to Kong.
There's a character that literally says, I guess round 2 goes to Kong.
Doesn't Kong have like a Giga Axe now?
Yeah, so the axe apparently
I'm sorry, but that sounds so fucking stupid.
Yeah. So
In the trailer, I thought the axe was just like some rubble or some shit that he was like using as an axe because it wasn't clear. But you're telling me it's a literal axe, and like my brain cells
it's a
are melting.
Godzilla scale.
It's so stupid.
So he's got the axe, and apparently the axe can hurt Godzilla, but can't do much to him, like pierce him, unless it's powered up by Godzilla's atomic breath.
Oh my god, no! And that's why you get the scene from the trailer.
Yeah. So,
like,
but it doesn't even pierce him that time.
Wait, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
So, one, while cool again, it makes literal zero sense. Kong's got jukes that a creature that size should not be able to do. Like he's literally doing backflips and shit and like jumping off buildings.
True.
While doing like Matrix level dodges of atomic breath.
Which are back to piercing everything again.
Yeah. So which are back to being fucking laser beams.
Hey, is Hong Kong like evacuated in this scene, or are they just?
That's one of the best parts. Like they say that they're evacuating, and then there's constant shots of evacuating happening, like during the fights.
Oh
like,
my god!
It's so very obvious that millions of people are dying.
So it's Man of Steel, is what you're saying?
It's totally Man of Steel,
basically. So Kong gets his axe charged by Godzilla's breath. He throws it in his side, and Godzilla's hurt, man. The axe just went into him, and it pulls it out, and there's like blood and shit, and it's like, oh my god, Kong's beating Godzilla's ass. And then I don't know what happens. Then all of a sudden, Godzilla takes the axe and like does a world-class fucking axe throw and puts it in a building somewhere, and then just proceeds.
Not with his hands, Brendan. It's not with his hands. Don't worry.
Yeah,
okay, that's because in my mind I'm picturing his baby arms throwing an axe, and I'm like, what?
And then proceeds to just wipe the floor with Kong. I mean, like,
as it should be.
I mean, like, not even. Oh no! It was the trailer scene. That's what it was. All right, so Kong launches himself off a building, blocks the atomic breath.
Big double overhand axe to Godzilla's head.
And we know now, it's been established that this axe can fucking kill Godzilla. And then right at the last second, it's about to touch Godzilla's fucking head. There's an explosion because I guess the axe becomes overcharged. And the axe goes flying in a different direction. And they both go flying backwards, but then Godzilla just walks up and then like rips Kong's shoulder out of its socket and then literally just beats the piss out of him. And basically
this was after the round 2 goes to Kong bullshit.
Yeah, this is after one of the characters was like round 2 goes to Kong. Like, and he literally like just kills him. Like no
what?
like heartbeat fading. He's fucked up beyond repair. And then Mechagodzilla shows up, which
okay.
I actually like the premise of Mechagodzilla and how they
fine.
used like the Ghidorah skull telepathy between the head technology and that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Brandon, having watched the Red Letter Media review as well, that was something that they just straight up got wrong. Is it is implied one of the skulls is in their lab and the other skull is in Mecha Godzilla, which is why it's able to communicate information
Okay.
wirelessly. So it makes sense. In the thing's dumb logic. What doesn't make sense is the ending, but we'll get to that. Continue.
Yeah.
What are they?
So,
Wait, I don't understand what you mean though. So they have a skull in Mechagodzilla, and they have a different skull somewhere else.
No,
What are they?
It's one skull, but because the one head got ripped off in the last movie.
Yeah, I've seen
But
that.
the head, for some reason they like break it down and could fucking like they find that there was telepathy going on because that's how the heads communicated with each other in Ghidorah, and they
Uh-huh.
take that tech and they like literally put someone in a fucking chair inside the skull. And it like psionically links to Mecha Godzilla. There's not another skull
Okay.
in it, but I guess there's fucking bullshit tech that
Or
Okay.
even just
they
any
use.
other Ghidorah shard. I was led to believe that there was a chunk of skull in Mechagodzilla. Maybe
No,
I
don't-
just
I don't
imagined
think
that.
so. But yeah. So then Godzilla fights Mecha Godzilla, gets his ass kind of raffle stomped.
Mechagodzilla is fucking awesome in this
Yeah.
movie.
That being said, Mecha Godzilla very cool,
Very
very cool.
well designed.
And then the human characters are like, "Wow, Kong's dying. He needs to go help Godzilla. Let's make our ship a giant defibrillator and restart his heart."
What are you talking about?
Brendan's like having like a what
What
the
are you
fuck
talking
moment.
about? Listen,
Oh, wait,
from the clips I've seen, it's very clear, like visually, that this movie, not just plot wise, but also kind of visually, seems like it was written by a 12-year-old in the sense that like artistic direction wise looks so like a completely different series from like
Yes.
Godzilla 2014. So what you're saying to me isn't like that shocking based on the aesthetics that I've seen, but it's still so fucking stupid to hear
Yeah.
you say
It should
that's what they're
also
doing.
be noted that like this is, I guess, main human protagonist man is the one that's going to pilot the ship, and there was like a big establishing scene before it, and he's been piloting the ship this whole time, from like them landing onward, and there was like an establishing scene where he's like, I don't know how to fly these, and he's doing all this shit from that point on, like in the movie.
He
Like,
learned. Okay, he learned quickly.
it makes no sense.
It just makes no
So they
fucking
restart his
sense.
heart, and then his Kong's gal pal tells him Godzilla's not the enemy. Go help, and he's like, "Yeah, fuck it, why not?" Don't really give any exposition on why he would help Godzilla besides he wants to make the girl happy. So then he goes, and then they beat Mecha Godzilla's ass. I mean, maybe Anthony, I think you have more to say on it because honestly,
Kong
Like, I
suddenly
don't-
understands. He's like, "Oh, Godzilla was not the enemy this whole time."
well, Kong knows English in this movie now.
Oh,
Maybe I
okay.
missed
Well, there
that
you
part.
go. There you
Uh,
go. Yeah, he knows
You
English.
understand sign language.
Yeah,
that's
he
different.
understands sign language. There you go, not English, but
He's a big old Coco.
The big ape now understands that the true enemy was man this whole time, making Mecha Godzilla.
which a side note, I actually kind of like that point because there was always like in like Godzilla, especially like Mothra and shit, there was always this like implied telepathy between like the kaiju and certain people.
Yeah.
And like the idea that like he is this telepathic like link with this girl who was deaf and did sign language and he learned it via telepathy, that's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, this fight, I mean, it's good. They're pretty much losing until they find the axe. And Godzilla just breathes fire on the axe, and then the axe magically now can just slice Mechagodzilla in like 2 seconds, and he's just dead. Like it's a good.
They Zandatsu got Mecha Godzilla with the axe.
Yeah, it's
Kong
literally.
gets the kill on Mechagodzilla.
It's weird because it's like a good fight that entire time, and it's kind of like back and forth, especially when they're both together, and then they get the axe, and then the fight's over. Like that's how just quick it's like it's done.
Well,
Move
again,
on.
like almost like atomic breath, they can't decide on power levels for things. So one moment, like Kong is equal in strength to Godzilla. Then the next fight, Godzilla just bitch slaps him
Mhm.
without the axe. And then in this, Mecha Godzilla bitch slaps Godzilla, but now Kong can like hold back Mecha Godzilla with just one arm. Like it makes no fucking sense.
Oh, and I forgot to mention.
It seems
So
like they put a lot of power into the MacGuffin that is the axe.
Yeah,
from what you're telling me.
and I should also mention this is an important thing about Mechagodzilla. Is the entire reason he's evil now and going berserk is because of this power source. Which, fine, whatever. They overcharged Ghidorah. Maybe
Yeah,
Ghidorah's
it was
back.
basically Ghidorah's conscious taking over Mecha Godzilla.
So, the way they solve it is Hacker Kid
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about
is on their mainframe trying to access the satellite that is beaming the communication
Oh,
from
God.
the Ghidorah skull into Mechagodzilla.
Wait a second. Wait.
And
Before
he's
you say what it
literally.
does- wait.
I'm not.
Wait, before you say what it does, Brandon, how do you think they stop it? how do you think the Hacker Kid stops the Mecha Godzilla?
I know that whatever I say will be wrong because everything you've said so far has been so insane that I'm not even gonna try. I never would have saw use a ship as a defibrillator coming a fucking mile away. So I'm not even gonna make an attempt. Just fucking tell me.
So
Tell
he
him, Anthony.
tries to literally just guess the password for like 10 minutes.
Oh god.
Until they get locked out. I'm like, I'm so glad that this movie's not that dumb that he couldn't just guess the password. And then he spills a Coke on the computer.
Oh no. Oh no.
And as a smart eureka moment, he goes, "Wait, drink. That's it." And purposely spills the Coke on the computer. Which shorts
It
out
dumps- it
which
dumps
shorts out
water.
this super advanced supercomputer, which probably the computer's not even there. That's probably just a keyboard that he's pouring soda on. And because that station flickers, for some reason the satellite's affected. And so Mechagodzilla has 2 seconds of going, "Wait, what? What's going on?" And then that's when they just fucking murder him. That's how the fight ends.
Was it
He's lagging. Gank the
Was it-
bitch.
was it a literal Coca-Cola?
It was whiskey or some shit.
It was
Oh,
something.
okay.
Yeah.
Sort of alcohol.
All right, I was gonna say that's the best That's the best fucking subtle advertisement for Coke ever. If it was actual Coke.
It was the
It could
defeat
it was the
Mechagodzilla.
dumbest
Yeah,
fucking thing.
so they beat Mecha Godzilla, and then Kong's like, "Man, I had enough of this shit," and sits down. But then Godzilla gets up, and it's like, "Oh, I guess we got to fight again." But then like,
What?
yeah, and then like Kong's like, "Nah, dude, I put down my axe," and Godzilla's like, "Okay," and turns around and has that look of, "Fuck it, I'm so tired, I'm going home." And
Why would Godzilla even, after the problem is solved, which is apparently his entire reason for doing everything that he's been doing the entire movie, why would he even step up and
I'm
attempt to fight again?
I'm going to mention one thing that Richie glossed over. Godzilla's entire characterization, this entire movie, is that he's like an asshole jock, and he has to be the strongest.
yeah,
That's why he's fighting King Kong. Even when he beats up King Kong in the fight before, he could kill him, but instead he just nods his head at him like a testosterone, like
Was it-
face check punk, and then
Okay.
walks away.
Is that just okay? But is that just taking like subtle writing cues from the last 2 Godzilla movies, but then cranking it up to 11 as if a 12-year-old wrote it? Because like
Yes.
that was kind of
Alright.
implied before, but it wasn't like the way you're saying it.
So, like-
it
hold
sounds
on, wait.
like
I am gonna touch on that. I didn't touch on it yet because I was just kind of getting through the movie. But just to finish up quickly, they leave. Godzilla goes back and bees Godzilla, and Kong now has a new home in Hollow Earth, and it's the end of the movie.
okay. So to touch on Godzilla being jock alpha guy, like what I'm saying is that was like somewhat established, wasn't it, in previous movies? But like it wasn't played as though it were written by a fucking child. You know what I mean?
So it is
So
my
it kind of sounds
assumption.
like
it's my assumption watching the movies that there is somewhat of a difference between, I guess, other Titans and quote unquote alpha Titans. So like, because they say in this movie there can only be one alpha Titan or some shit, and that was kind of the plot point too of the second movie, King of Monsters, is that like
Right.
Ghidorah shows up and he's a fucking like alpha mega chad, and Godzilla can't be alpha mega chadded.
No, but see, so what I have against that is like, yeah, that's the monster element, like when they're going back to being kind of like natural elements of the earth.
Yeah,
And it was done way better in King of the Monsters because
absolutely.
everyone fights everyone until they come to an understanding, and even then there's still like alliances and stuff. It's very animalistic. This one, they're all intelligent, and just Godzilla's a dumb jock, and King Kong doesn't know what's going on.
That's kind of my point, though, right? Because what I basically just said was, so this
Well,
movie
again,
takes
that's
an
how I took
established
it.
idea, right? But okay, so if the way you're taking it though is correct, then it's like whoever wrote this movie took an established concept, but just didn't totally understand it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
yeah.
like wrote it their own way, as if like someone with less brain cells
Yeah,
would
well, like,
interpret it in
the
this fashion.
premise is that the last movie, Godzilla beats Ghidorah, and then all the other monsters are like, "Wow, Godzilla's the Mega Chad. He's the king."
Right, and they leave him alone.
For some
And then he
reason,
kills them all off screen for
Yeah.
some reason,
apparently, I didn't see that, but
including Mothra, which probably isn't the.
well, Mothra died
Mothra
before
was already
Godzilla could
dead.
kill her. But so for some, I guess Kong, because he was on the island, didn't get the memo that Godzilla was King Chad, and for some reason doesn't bow, which they kind of attribute to him being an Alpha Titan, but. And this is going to come back to another fucking point. He doesn't seem like an Alpha Titan if they're using that characterization.
Right.
Who, Kong? Sorry, I got pulled away
Yeah,
for a moment.
like they make this point of like, oh, again, there can't be two Alpha Titans, and I guess Godzilla's the Mega Chad. But Godzilla is so clearly overpowered in this movie as opposed to him, and it's like, I don't know if I buy that point.
But they have to leave that plot point open for future movies so they can fight again, Richie. You got to have Kong established by the end of the movie as the like competition so that we can have
Honestly,
another
all right.
movie
So
where they fight again with a similarly retarded plot.
This is my opinion. I think this is the only movie we're going to see Kong and Godzilla.
Are you serious?
I really
You
think
don't
it
we're
is.
gonna do this
I,
again?
That's a
I don't
good
think they
idea.
are. I think this
No,
was
but
like
that
a
doesn't-
one-off to
But
make
how do
money
you-
for
if,
the
like-
next Godzilla. to
Okay,
be honest.
Destroya lands on Earth. How do you write a movie in which Kong does not show up to help?
He's in Hollow Earth. He doesn't
He's
give a
in
shit.
Hollow Earth.
That's so fucking weak, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but obviously the plot isn't the strong point, Brandon.
Right, I get that, but you know what I'm saying, though. That's fucking stupid and doofy. But you're right, they probably would do that.
And then if King Kong has to fight anyone, oh, it's a battle in Hollow Earth. It's not on the surface.
Or for whatever reason, he gets dragged out for some stupid, like,
Or he
there's
gets
some
killed
plot
off screen.
contrivance.
Yeah, or
that.
there's a throwaway line where he's dead.
Godzilla kills him off screen between movies.
So knowing all that, what I just summarized, my main gripes with the movie, and this is the big one, and again, I'm taking this as objective. Godzilla, his most powerful weapon wasn't atomic breath, wasn't his superior reptilian durability. His most fucking powerful fucking power this movie was plot armor. And I'm gonna dive deeper into that. There are legitimate bullshit scientifical and anecdotal reasons why
Scientifical.
Godzilla beats in quotes. You didn't see the quotes I was doing.
Yeah.
Scientifical reasons why Godzilla is quote unquote maybe stronger, is more durable, atomic breath and all that shit. Like why he would beat Kong. But
You're saying it was written poorly, and you
It
can't
was-
take those reasons.
he doesn't win on those reasons, in my opinion.
Yes,
Like
you're saying it was written like shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing I like to bring up is that scene from the trailer, where he's fucking double overhand lunging. They establish that Kong can't beat Godzilla in like the first fight. Like he punches him, but he can't pierce him, and Godzilla can claw him and open him up.
And then he gets the
And then
MacGuffin.
he gets the axe, which is supposed to be his equalizer. It's supposed to be how Kong can compete in this versus movie. And they establish in that one scene that this axe can fuck up Godzilla, like it could kill Godzilla. And he uses it once before it gets a mystical, very convenient overcharge explosion away from him and Godzilla, and then Godzilla just proceeds to beat his ass when he's not near the axe. It just, to me, there was a big bubble of plot armor over him, and to a point, he is the main character, and I understand he's going to have plot armor, but this wasn't. It took away from the versus part of this movie. It was just, it would be like if it was Batman versus Superman, but Batman used kryptonite once, punched him in the face once, and then like monologued and dodged, and then Superman just beat his ass. And
Isn't
was
that kind of what happened in Batman vs Superman? Then?
no, Batman beat him.
Yeah, briefly, and then they were like, "But Martha, though,"
Oh yeah,
and then they stopped fighting.
like
It's kind of
Kong
the same thing.
was kind of pseudo never meant to be able to fight Godzilla. They had to like bring him up to a level to do that. And they did that with the axe. And of course a size increase from like a normal King Kong fucking size. But again, he does one thing, literally one thing to hurt Godzilla before Godzilla just literally kills him.
Would you have liked it better if here's a small rewrite for you, and I'd like to know if you think this would have made it better in your opinion? Would it have been a better movie if he overcharged the axe? You get the same moment, same big overhead swing. It doesn't actually connect because too much giga juice goes into the axe and it blows up, and they both get blown back, and the axe flies off somewhere. And then there is no follow up where Godzilla beats his ass. Instead, they just both stand up as if the fight had like come to a standstill, and then the Mechagodzilla shit happens.
I think it would have been better.
So you never get a decisive moment.
I think that
your
would have been
issue
better.
with it.
Yep. I think that would have been better than just the up. His plot armor kicked in. Now he just proceeds to absolutely wipe the floor with Kong. And
The only thing about that I can agree with you on is that I guess plot armor comes into it in the sense that they wrote in the weird axe explosion at all in the first place. But then once it's away from him, it seems like the movie established that Kong's a bitch when he doesn't have the MacGuffin. So once he doesn't have the MacGuffin, it's like, I mean, I assume your definition of plot armor here is that getting the axe away from Kong at all is the moment of plot armor.
The moment of the biggest fucking moment of plot armor was just the overhead double hand swing. Like that was the kill shot. And of course,
Yeah,
I don't
right.
want Godzilla to die. Because Godzilla, we have to remember too, in this verse movie, it's two good guys versus each other. Like Godzilla is the good guy, even though he's an asshole jock.
In this movie, at least, he is,
yeah, like,
apparently.
but when you have a versus movie, like it has to feel like a versus movie, and it doesn't feel like Godzilla versus Kong. It feels like Godzilla just beats Kong. Like Kong didn't have any. They gave him the axe to compete, but he only used it once in the fucking hour and fucking 45 or 2 hour and 13, whatever fucking movie it was. Like, it just didn't seem well written to be a versus movie to me.
It's not shocking to me. I mean, like, it's not. I had mentioned to you guys when we first ever talked about this movie, like when it first got announced, that this movie was going to come out, and no one was going to like die. Like, I didn't think either of these characters were going to eat shit in this movie, because you can't do that when it's Godzilla and Kong. Like, that just can't be done. You know, I also didn't think that there would be as decisive of like a winner and clear of a winner, quote unquote, as you're explaining to me. I
Me
thought it
too.
would be
I thought it would definitely be more like even up. We don't have a winner. Time to fight Mecha and then be
right,
friends.
like a weird, shitty kind of. I mean, like we can go back to it and be like, oh, Batman won, quote unquote, but like a Batman versus Superman esque plot where they fight to like a point of standstill. They have a really stupid reason to stop, and then it's like, oh, Doomsday is the thing now. Like I thought that would be with this movie. That was always my. And I mean, it sounds like it kind of is, except Godzilla even more decisively wins, quote unquote, over Kong.
I don't think it is even a debate. Kong was fucking dead.
Which is weird because I had heard people in reviews saying that Kong feels like the protagonist of this movie,
Oh
and
yeah,
Godzilla is more of a side character. To be honest, that's what I had heard.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You spend the majority of the movie with Kong as opposed to Godzilla, and he's
Yeah.
the pseudo quote unquote good guy. But
and also he could talk to humans and is empathetic.
yeah,
Which is weird in and of itself. I would have thought that they both would have got like kind of equivalent screen time with like their own subplots,
You
but
would
apparently
think so.
no.
What with even the connection to the girl from the last movie, but no.
Yeah.
They just didn't have that in the movie.
they could have, like I said,
But they just couldn't think of anything.
They could have saved themselves fucking having to pay for Millie Bobby Brown, the fat kid from Deadpool 2, and whoever that black dude is. But they didn't have to have that plot going.
I guess they couldn't think of anything for Godzilla to do other than to be the pseudo antagonist, and for Kong to kind of just be the protagonist of the fucking movie, and then for Godzilla to win. Apparently.
Can I but hey, he
Definitely
kills
down with
Mecha
Godzilla.
Godzilla, so that makes him important.
Yeah,
Right.
Should be.
I mean, like
For the
that's
next
the
movie.
Right.
That was literally saying, well, Kong got his ass beat the whole movie, so you know what? We're gonna make Kong fans feel good about something, and he's gonna get the fucking kill on Mechagodzilla.
Oh yeah,
That's
it was
all that
very blatant. Like I have no horse in that race. I don't really give a shit that Kong got his ass beat the entire movie, because I was watching dumb monster fights. That was what I signed up for. I didn't. My horse in the race was pro King Lizard, but
I'm team
even me at the end of all that, I was like, "Oh, that was an apology."
Yeah, I'm
definitely
team Muck. I think, and of course, this is with every fucking versus thing ever. You know, people get sore when their side doesn't win, but I'm willing to see the reasons why he didn't win, even though I am Team Monk, because it could easily be written a different way.
Mm.
But objectively, he was just the whole premise was just written bad in this movie. Objectively, it was just bad for a versus movie. There was very little verses.
Yeah, that's true.
My whole thing with it was simply that Kong was never meant to exist in the Godzilla universe, and they
See, and we've had this conversation. I
finished my
counter
goddamn
that.
sentence.
Yep, I counter that, which that's not an excuse
my
because
goddamn
they
sentence.
literally brought him into this universe, so they have to make him compete in the universe.
With what? Giving him psychic powers, something like that.
I mean, they gave him the
have
axe.
to go
The axe was
outside.
supposed to be the thing, and it was until he used it once, and then it got thrown away from him, and then he got his ass beat.
I can kind of support what Rob's saying a little bit, and I complained about this when the first trailer came out. I met some opposition, but I'll stick to it that I think the Godzilla vs. Kong thing was a little hastily written and explained, where it's like, we all know, even though there were old Godzilla vs. Kong movies, we know from the established movies before this that the scale does not make sense.
Yep.
Godzilla is supposed to be fucking gigantic. When this movie first got announced, I was like, they're not even remotely the same size. Even with a full-grown Kong from his ancient movies, they're not the same thing. Like, how do you make this work? And then the trailers are just like, oh, I guess we'll just throw that out the window, and we'll just like, it's fuck it. They won't question it. Kong's big now, and for some reason they're like roughly the same fucking size. Even though in Godzilla's solo movies, it looks like he's a lot bigger than he is in this fucking movie. It's just like they didn't give a fuck.
Godzilla is bigger. They didn't make him the same size. They just tried to make him the same size.
Right? They just tried to. Yes, they scaled him for Kong. Yeah.
Godzilla is fucking bigger.
It's fucking lazy, and that was my first big red flag and complaint about this fucking movie. So like, obviously they didn't give a shit.
More another thing that just like annoyed me about this whole movie is that it's like fuck, they didn't care. It's
Oh,
not
well,
even
yeah.
Well,
just
that goes
that.
into what we're talking
So
about with the
to
scale.
another point of not caring, on top of like my gripe about the versus plot and how it's not really versus, and they wrote Godzilla a little too strong in my opinion, or they wrote him where he's supposed to be, but they didn't give Kong enough like redeeming things to actually be good versus. One of my major gripes too is the jump in technology level.
Yes,
Yeah, well, okay.
yes.
That's what I was complaining about before when I said, because like I said, I've seen a lot of clips of the movie and shit, and my biggest gripe is that you go from, this is all supposed to be one fucking universe, right?
Yes.
They want this to be the MCU of
Yeah, it's the
Godzilla
Monsterverse.
Monsterverse,
Monsterverse.
right? So here's the fucking dissonance, and here's my issue. So you go back and you look at stills and clips from Godzilla 2014. Now compare that movie to this one. They're like two completely different visions entirely. 2014 is this like grounded shot where you have all this like realistic modern tech placed in places for scale against Godzilla. Just dudes in tanks. The coloring is very like grayscale. It's not like science fiction fantasy. This movie feels like sci-fi fantasy. There's like all this crazy shit the humans have now. We're flying around in this insane hover tech bullshit to the center of the earth with these incredible vistas that just like, it's a completely different thing from like
Yep.
Godzilla 2014 or even King of the Monsters tonally. And I kind of hate it, to be honest.
It's
everything
silly.
I've seen.
Like the thing I like too is like, so
Which
they were
okay,
very like written modern, like it was modern tech and
I-
then kaiju,
I
and then in this movie it's the tech just explodes.
I want to be a little bit fair in that War of the Monsters had a stupid helicarrier thing. There
Yeah, but
was,
even
Yeah,
that
I
was
there
yeah.
was
the
advanced
level-
tech, but it was grounded. Like you
Yeah.
could see, oh, it's a little more advanced because there's fucking super
But
monsters
now
running around that they could
Humans have
whatever for.
apparently like a fucking pulse laser that's stronger than atomic breath that already has weird power levels.
Pulse
like-
laser, anti-gravity, like all of this technology could be used in any other fashion and it would be way better for humanity. But our buildings are like the same, you know? It's like
It's literal sci-fi. It's the difference between Godzilla 2014 and this movie is like sci-fi. It's science fiction to a more like grounded take on like a weird kaiju story, you know? And it's like very fucking dissonant. It just doesn't make sense.
And again, I would
me.
say
I
War
mean,
of
you
the
can
Monsters tips its toe in that, but it's or King of the Monsters, it tips its toe in that, but it like this is off the deep end ridiculous, and it's only like 5 years later, which is just so
Yeah.
fucking outrageous. It's
Yeah.
insulting. It is insulting
But that
to the
goes
audience.
back to my point I made at the beginning of this discussion, which is kind of why I wanted to point it out because I knew we'd get to this eventually, where it's like every director was different, you know? So you've got a different vision behind every single fucking movie, and this is kind of what you wind up with, I guess, is eventually you wind up at the guy writing it with the mind of a 12-year-old dude who just wants to see like his Godzilla and Kong punch fest with a bunch of insane human tech bullshit that he just cooked up. That doesn't make any sense for the movies that came before it, but he doesn't give a fuck, or they don't give a fuck, however many people have writing credits on this fucking movie.
Yeah. I also want to touch on that is that like I feel like you know what this is and this is one of the reasons why I didn't like the Kong versus Godzilla fight round 2 in Hong Kong is that it shot like the Universal theme park ride of the movie that's gonna get made. Because like there's weird out of nowhere, and this wasn't in the other parts of the movie where there's like first-person perspective shots from both the monsters. You're following the ship as it's going through buildings and around this combat, and it's just like it's weirdly Michael Bay out of fucking nowhere. Not like all the other fights weren't bombastic or anything. Like this is just outrageous, and I think that speaks to like the overall tone of the movie, where this is like the theme park ride of all the movies. Like the other one, the other ones had like lore and weird ARGs and were grounded and like you understood like every character and their motivations. This one, nothing makes fucking sense. It's just a spectacle, and I hate it.
But that's what the movie is, man. It's just a spectacle.
You
It's a
gotta get
versus movie
high
punch
to,
fest.
get through it sometimes.
Okay, I cannot say this enough. I knew the plot was going to be bad. I knew it wasn't going to make sense, and it was
We
going to
didn't
be
know it was going to be
stupid.
this bad.
This is insultingly bad.
Yeah,
It
they don't-
is
Nothing, like
outrageous.
Stanley said, nothing makes sense. So this is another thing too. So Blood Feud, Kong Godzilla. Apparently, only one of them knows that. Two, they make no Kong having like a throne room and his people coming from Hollow Earth also makes zero sense because there are established canonical comics about Kong's people on Skull Island, and they don't ever address how they got to Skull Island, why he's on Skull Island, how like what happened in Hollow Earth. Like they make no reference to that. Also, apparently Kong's people could kill Godzilla's. And again, no fucking reference on how that war went because it was called a war. Like there is no reference to anything.
Can I just
They don't
point out, like, what
explain anything.
what do you mean Kong's people can kill Godzilla's? Is this movie now going with a completely different backstory of like Godzilla is not a unique thing anymore,
Yes.
created via radiation?
he-
now
he's
there's
a-
apparently
Oh, yeah,
a
no,
line
yeah.
of them.
No,
That's
that
fucking
existed
stupid.
before.
That's where they
that
find
was even
the
in
axe.
2014, dude. King of the
Was it
Monsters.
in 2014? They
Yeah,
did they
he is
not?
a race of Titan, like the rest of them, like the
The
Mutos.
the skeleton that they found the Muto eggs in was a Godzilla skeleton.
Okay, I don't remember that at all.
Oh, it also
from
should be
2014.
noted very importantly that like this bad guy corporation that made Mechagodzilla and all this crazy check is also just cloning Titans. They could just do that.
Yeah, but they're dead. It's okay.
But like
Godzilla killed them all, Anthony. We need more.
yeah,
There has
but
to be
like
more
that,
for future movies,
like it's
Anthony.
like
He killed
it's
them all.
exactly why they wrote it like that. Like
He killed them all,
it's,
Anthony.
It's bad justification, and then it's even worse justification to undo it next movie when fucking
killed them.
Mothra is back again.
He killed them all, Anthony. No, it's like you said. It's gonna be a throwaway line that they never even use for like plot advancement going forward.
Oh, they must
any way,
have
shape, or
had
form.
a clone of Mothra. They've got some DNA off the corpse or some shit. Like they could do that for anything at any time.
Why would you even write a throwaway line like that when it doesn't make any sense? Like, why would Godzilla have just murdered Mothra between movies?
Even forget Mothra. It's
can
like at
anyone
the
come up
end
with a-
of the movie, there's like other Mutos and stuff, and they all bow to him, and Godzilla's cool with it. He's like, hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, can
Why
anyone
would he
give
then
it
just kill
yeah.
them?
Yeah, he just starts committing a genocide of his followers randomly between movies. It's almost like whoever wrote it didn't give a fuck.
It's entirely like whoever wrote this literally just watched the last two movies and then just like in a caffeine fueled binge wrote this one. Like it's so nonsensical and crap and basic, and it sucks.
I would like to let you know that Godzilla vs. Kong currently sitting at a 92% audience score on
I
Rotten
don't give
Tomatoes.
a
Fucking terrible.
fuck.
I'll just let
We
you
are
know.
the 8%.
Just letting you know.
I'm happy to
Zero
be the
fucking
8%.
sense.
I'm not
Dude,
pointing that out
and
to tell you
again,
that we're
it's
all
like-
wrong. I'm just pointing out that people are stupid.
Like we have to highlight again, Richie is the man who likes bad movies, and
This is true.
and I also like bad movies. I thought the Doom movie was all right. Like
Oh, God,
I
Anthony.
could turn my brain off and enjoy like a stupid action flick where like nothing makes sense. But this makes so much not sense that we haven't even talked about how the fact like the main girl finds her father when neither of them knew that they were there in Hong Kong. But there's like a reunitement scene at the end, like, oh, Dad! And it's like neither of them knew that they were there. Why are they even looking for each other in this
movie
ruined
trope.
city? Nothing makes sense.
I'll be honest with you. I completely forgot that happened.
It's so I think it's like it's written so bad that it's hoping that like everything that is a glaring stupid flaw is just forgotten about, like the spilled coke, the finding the dad, like the fact that they just cloned every other Titan after killing all the Titans, like all of it is just don't think about, like not just don't think about it, but like we hope you have Alzheimer's while watching this movie.
It's
Uh,
like, why even
The
write?
cloning of the Titan things, I even don't fucking fully remember. I remember it somewhat, but I don't.
Why even bother writing a line that says Godzilla fucking murdered everything between movies? Like, what point? What bearing does that even have on the plot
I
at
think it's
all?
trying to enforce before the obvious twist that everyone was
That
going
he's
that
like an asshole.
yeah, that maybe he's evil now and he's
Right.
just attacking humans and shit.
But you could have
not.
the same plot without that line of dialogue. You
But
know
that's
what I mean?
Like that's what I'm saying to try and reinforce it, where make you actually go, oh, maybe he is evil. Why did he
Right,
kill all
it's-
the Titans and
right.
attack humans when he's not?
Which I totally understand. It's a line of dialogue written for brainlets to try to like get
It would
you
be
to.
good other line if then Apex was like, oh, Godzilla didn't kill the Titans, we did, testing out Mecha Godzilla. And like, but that line was not in the other part of the movie when it turns out that Godzilla's good and Apex is evil. Also, let's just say, like, why is Apex evil? Like, what he's doing makes perfect fucking sense.
No, because Godzilla's the hero. You see. It's like when
Like,
he
if it
told-
turned out he was just like genociding multiple species in order to perfect his weapon, then it's like, oh yeah, this guy's an asshole and just wants
it's like-
power.
It's like how Lex Luthor is the villain because he wants to fucking prepare the people for Superman when evil. But like when things like Injustice happen, he's actually like, "Holy shit, Lex Luthor, save us!"
Yeah, it's
And
I
Lex
don't know.
Luthor's like, I told you this shit would happen."
Like they didn't do enough to make the evil guy evil. They didn't do enough to make the smart guy smart. They didn't do enough to make the good guy evil. It is such a failure of a movie at writing, like to the point where I can't turn my brain off. I
As
cannot.
much,
I
as
can't
much as
ignore all this.
This is wildly off topic, but it's
I
funny
couldn't
because when you write a villain with a motivation such as that, depending on what came before it, sometimes it makes sense. So like Lex Luthor in like Batman vs Superman, you can kind of side with him if you watched Man of Steel. You know what I mean? You can be like, yeah, you know what? Actually, he almost committed an accidental genocide and didn't give a fuck. But it seems like this movie doesn't make a ton of sense.
The only part that doesn't make a sense about his plan is like, why would you build a giant mecha kaiju when like in this universe the oxygen destroyer exists? Why don't you make just like 5 of those? Problem
Yeah.
solved.
Yeah.
You don't have to
Sorry.
invent this other thing.
In the next movie, we'll get Jaegers that are like twice the size from the same company, and then you'll get
I
your
mean,
Pacific
dude,
Rim
it's
Congress
fucking
Godzilla
totally
crossover.
possible now with the fucking jump of tech that we get Jet Jaguar.
Oh, absolutely!
Oh
is.
my god,
Are you
Jet
kidding me?
Jaguar, yes!
Watching all this dumb hovercraft bullshit and these lasers and
For
shit.
those of you that don't know, Jet Jaguar is just like a giant Power Ranger.
Jet
Oh, they can
Jaguar's
Google
the
it.
best.
They'll see it.
He's Ultraman, but dumber.
He's like a giant ass Power Ranger.
God, you're so fucking right, dude. Next movie is gonna be Jet Jaguar for sure. That guy dies though, right? In this movie,
Yeah,
Big
he's
head.
dead.
company
Yeah.
man. Yeah,
Elon
Everyone
Musk
in
dies
that
in this movie.
company died.
yeah. Goodbye,
Everyone
Elon.
in that company fucking dead, except the people who worked there. Some of them got out, but all the main heads of that company are dead.
Someone will take over. You know, Jeff Bezos or whatever, and then he'll make Jet Jaguar.
We already have the.
He's
Bezos.
an advanced delivery drone that's weaponized from the next mega company.
Apex Prime.
I have to rewatch Godzilla vs Kong because I don't remember the line where it's like Godzilla murdered all the.
Yeah,
other
I don't
Titans."
remember that line either.
Supposedly it's in there. I watched Red Letter Media. They complained about it significantly, where they were like, "Why is that a thing that's in there?" And Anthony seems to remember it, so I'm assuming it's in there, but maybe it's not.
So yeah, on Brandon scale thumbs, I give it 2 thumbs down. I just can't. I did like a third of the fight scenes I didn't enjoy. The other one of the fight scenes ends very unsatisfactory in my opinion. 2 of them, if you want to argue that.
Anthony had blue balls from the fight scene.
And it was just so fucking dumb that it wasn't worth it. Looks beautiful. Good job, all those CG animators working on Kong's hair for 5 years.
Jay Bauman from the Red Letter Media review had mentioned something I find kind of interesting, and this isn't unique to this movie because Hollywood's been doing this a lot recently, where they take these directors who are I don't want to say like no names, but they're more like indie kind of filmmakers, and they give them these huge budgets and make them make movies like this. And one could argue that some of the cinematography and stuff, because that's what happened with this movie. I don't remember the guy's name, but he made a movie called The Guest, I believe, and I think some other shit. And he's the one who directed this. So you could say that the reason why this thing is so fucking artistically dissonant from the movies that came before it is because of that choice to hand it over to a guy like that who might have more of like a colorful vision of what one of these movies might look like. Doesn't mean that it's good, but it kind of explains it.
It's so stupid. Like
You see shots of some of his older movies and you start to understand why like maybe that big neon fucking fight scene exists
again,
to some extent.
it's the only reason why I describe the writing as insulting, because it's like you should be insulted that they think you're that dumb.
Oh, it's definitely a clusterfuck of writing, but I did enjoy some of the fight scenes.
It's how a lot of big budget movies work though, Anthony.
No, and
Depending on the
again, I'm
writers.
fine because like they need to save money now for all these CG artists, so it's like let's cut down on the director's pay. He's still getting a fuck ton of money, but there's probably like one less zero than if it was like a named director. And I mean, some of these indie guys, they have fucking good ass eyes for shit, you know? They can shoot some interesting things. They'll take risks.
Well, that's one of the biggest positives most people list about this movie, even when they're being critical of it from what I've seen, is how some of the shit is shot and how it looks. CG or otherwise. That seems to be a big thing that people like about it, even when they're bitching about other things. Such as the big neon fucking Hong Kong fight scene and shit like that. Which you could attribute to the choice of director, perhaps assuming that he had a say when it came to the fucking CG department.
I imagine to an extent.
Well, yeah, because they're still
Meticulously modeling all that.
directing the shot.
But yeah, it sounds like it has everything I've heard here has been fucking hilarious, including the stuff I didn't know, or mostly the stuff I didn't know from what I've seen. It sounds like it's got big budget plot syndrome where like half of it just doesn't make any fucking sense if you devote more than 2 brain cells to thinking about it.
It's
Correct.
not even two, it's one. It's like when you're a lot of those things like they creep up and hit you. Like you watch the movie and it's like, "Oh, that was good." And then like you're thinking about it, it's like, "Wait, that didn't make sense. Wait, how did they know about that?" And that's fine, you know, cuz it's like you still have the nostalgia of enjoying the movie. This one, like while I'm watching it, like things happen and I go, "That makes no fucking sense." Or like that's literally contradictory to what they said 2 seconds ago. What is going on?
Well, congratulations. I'm glad you guys seem to agree that it was kind of shit. I'm glad that from the clips and the reviews that I've seen, I'm kind of decided on my own not to watch it because I was like, this is probably going to be a waste of my time. I'm glad that we're all of this opinion because, from what I understand, this movie made a fuckload of money, which
Yep.
means there will be more like it in the future. Especially because, you know what's even shittier about this is because, from what I understand, there was a lot of complaints in reviews for King of the Monsters in terms of like the way the fight scenes looked and shit like that, and they took that to heart. I think RLM pointed out that that was possibly why this movie got delayed as hard as it did, and it was actually supposed to come out like years sooner than it did because they were approaching it with a different mindset due to like some of the backlash for King of the Monsters visually, which means that because this one was so successful, the next one will be just like this, artistically and plot-wise.
Well, maybe they'll have a director that gives a shit, you know.
You never know.
Yeah, I don't. I don't.
Might just hand it to the same guy because this one was such a success.
That guy's gonna have a nice resume now.
Fuck yeah, he is, dude. Check out the Rotten Tomatoes for my movie that I directed. It's got 95% audience score, but these camel guys hated it. But fuck them.
I've stated before, I'll state again. I'm fine with being the minority opinion.
There's nothing wrong with being a minority opinion. I mean, as I've said, this movie was clear from day one before it was even out that it was marketed to like the mainstream. It's a blockbuster action movie, right? The 95% of people who are reviewing this positively are not thinking about it the way that we are when we watch it or see these clips and like question these scenes, which is what you should do. You should hold all
I
movies
can't
to a certain
stress enough.
standard.
It's not that they're not thinking about it. They're not thinking. They're just not. And
That's what the movie was marketed to.
maybe I'm autistic. I don't know. It's just it was so impossible to ignore at like every turn. Oh well, whatever.
Well, it sucks, and you're gonna get another one.
Yeah, it's weird that now I'm guarded about it. Like I was all in on this movie because I was like, yeah, it's gonna be big dumb monster fights, and there's gonna be like a very kind of crappy plot to justify it, and I'm pretty sure I already know it. And it turns out, even being prepared for all that, I could still be terribly disappointed.
Yeah.
I set the
I
bar
was hyped for
low.
this movie too.
I set the bar low, and it missed it. But it looked pretty, and for some reason, people put a lot of faith in that, I guess.
I'm glad I bitched about this movie a very long time ago.
It's true. You actually did bitch about it a lot.
I did.
So besides that,
Turns out
how
it
was
sucks.
your week, Richie?
I don't even want to
Besides
talk
that-
about weeks now. I just want to go on with life.
You can go, but can't be like Godzilla vs Kong was also my week. I'm done.
I am done. Goodbye,
I-
everyone.
My weeks have been pretty good. I was with my girly, schoolwork, a lot of mobile gaming because she had to use my computer for her stuff. But it was good. But now I am here and I am alone. Please kill me.
I'm glad you found that so funny.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But part of my week, on top of doing things with the girly and not playing games and all that shit, I have started playing Legends of Runeterra.
Wow.
And it's not bad. It's interesting. I'm having fun with it. Dota's still better than League, but this game is better than Artifact. So
I was gonna say, why do you want me here for this?
I just wanted you to comment, see if you were going to call me a filthy traitor or something.
I mean, it's not like actual League, so it's not that traitorous.
Brandon, are you gonna play the League fighting game?
Ooh, that is a good question.
Probably not. Unless it's like free to play. I don't see myself spending money on it. Unless people are like, wow, this is the best fighting game to come out in decades, then maybe I would try it, but probably not.
I gotta say, you're psychotic.
I don't know if you know this about me.
for
I've
not
mentioned previously on the
thinking that
podcast.
people are gonna say that regardless of its actual quality.
Wait,
Anyway, continue.
What'd you say? You cut out a bit for me.
I would
at the beginning of that.
say you're insane for not thinking people will say that about it regardless of its quality.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's gonna be everyone and their mother already knows that every fucking League fanboy is gonna hop on that fighting game and be like, "This is so fucking good, dude!" Even if it's like not that good at all. Because they can play as their League waifus and shit in the fighting game. It's obviously gonna be successful.
True.
I don't see myself playing it because I don't know if you know this. I've mentioned it before, but aesthetics are kind of a huge deal for me with fighting games. I have to like the way it looks. And there has to be a character that I'm interested in playing in it, or else I'm not gonna pick it up. And that probably won't be the fucking case for me because I don't like League's art style.
Anyway,
So there's your answer.
fair.
The interesting thing about this card game is that you kind of have mana and actions in your opponent's turn. Like it's literally the only thing that rotates a turn is just the attack token, which lets you attack. It's very interesting. It took a while to like get a hang of because I was like, wait, why is this person playing in my turn and all this stuff. Once you understand it, it's not terrible.
When Artifact, or I'm sorry, not Artifact. Well, what's it fucking called? When Hearthstone Classic comes out, are you gonna abandon Runeterra?
I don't
To go
know.
back to
Depends if I
Hearthstone?
get all my shit or not in it. Like
Have
if
you
they
abandoned the 40k card game to play Legends of Runeterra?
no, I play that on my phone. You know, I swap, man. I
You
swap.
know, Legends of Runeterra can be played on your phone.
I do. I have it on my phone.
Wow. 2 different card games. Damn, son.
Well, I don't do much computer gaming anymore. I do mobile gaming.
I've noticed. I don't hear from you during the week
Well, hold on.
at
These
all.
past few weeks have been different. I haven't had access to my
Even
computer.
before that, I've not gamed with you in a hot minute.
You've missed Risk of Rain.
Well, again, these past weeks have been different, but I would like to start doing more. I've debated picking up that hunt game that you and BB were playing.
It's very good. You should while it's on sale before it
Yeah,
goes back to
'cause
full
it's
price.
it's really expensive.
It's very good. I highly recommend it. I'll talk about that in my week, but
Yeah, I'm done. Someone else can go.
Brendan, go.
sure. Hunt Showdown. I've been playing it a lot because it's on sale as of us recording this. It's very good. I describe it, or I've spoken to BB about it, and kind of described it as like a still somewhat anxiety-ridden Tarkov-esque experience that's a little less anxiety-ridden because you're not losing as much when you die in Hunt. There isn't as much of an investment, but the gameplay loop is essentially the same as Tarkov to some extent, where it's like you have your hunters, you have like multiple characters, you level them in successful like raids, which this game calls hunts or whatever. And you give them equipment, and if they die permanently, and you lose all the shit on them. But then getting the guns is actually extraordinarily cheap. It's very inexpensive. So the thing you're mostly risking are the hunters themselves, which are not that hard to level again once you lose hunters. I also like it a lot because PvP is like, imagine if you were playing Tarkov, right? But everyone in the match had to use a Mosin. Right? What would PvP be like? It would be far more spastic and tradey, right? Because you're shooting these like slow firing, like bolt action rifles, lever action rifles, these like old like single action and double action revolvers and shit like that. So fights are far more like take a shot, reposition, like rack the bolt, take a shot, reposition, close to close range, hip fire my lever action rifle as fast as I possibly can, which is not nearly as fast as you would like spray an MP9 at someone in Tarkov. You know what I mean? So shots matter, but there's also like fights are way more extended in Hunt because it's far rarer to just get one tapped typically. There's shit in the game that can still do it. Like a shotgun will lay you out pretty much instantly at close range if they land all of it in like your upper body region. Headshots from far away with certain rifles will still just destroy you instantly. But I really like PvP in this game. I honestly might say that I like it a little bit more than Tarkov, just because you more often get drawn out firefights where shit doesn't just end like that because some guy saw you, you didn't see him, and he just dumps you instantly. Like that happens in Tarkov all the fucking time. In this game, that can still happen, but it doesn't happen as often. And I like it. Like fights are very tradey, very back and forth, very like movement oriented, repositioning, firing these slow weapons. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. I super duper enjoy it. The PvE stuff is kind of a neat little spin on the game as well. So I like Hunt a lot. On Brandon's scale of thumbs, I'd give it one thumb up and like a whore thumb, because I have some minor issues with it. Like it's not a great game for solo play. Because there like is no strictly solo matchmaking in the main game mode. So when you go in alone, you get thrown into duos matchmaking, which kind of sucks. It's both a positive and a negative that it feels like you're risking less than you are in something like Tarkov. I like it because it's a less, like I said, a less anxiety-ridden experience than Tarkov, but it's also you lose a bit of the intensity because you know you're risking a lot in like a raid of Tarkov when you go in thick. Um, but I still really like the game a lot, so I highly recommend it. It's a ton of fun. I'm enjoying it immensely as a nice little aside from like playing something similar like Tarkov or whatever. What the fuck else did I do? I watched a movie.
Ooh, what movie?
Nice.
I can speak of a movie. We can get a nice parallel here. We bitched and complained about one movie, and now I'll talk about a movie that I kind of enjoyed, which was The Black Coat's Daughter. I learned about this movie, I believe, from an RLM episode where someone had mentioned it. I think it was Jay on a like half in the bag video.
I'm literally just
Mentioned it.
looking at the poster. I'm gonna say 95% it's a J film.
Don't Google it. If anything I say to you makes you sound like you want to watch it, don't Google it because the top Google image searches are instant spoilers,
Awesome.
like immediately. So don't do that. I like the movie a lot. I'll be kind of brief about it because I don't want to spoil too much about it. It's a good movie. It's the kind of movie where you watch it. At least I had this experience where, like, for the first half, it kind of cements itself in a really common horror movie trope where at first I was like, I think I've been lied to and this isn't going to be that good. And then you keep watching it and it subverts your expectations and has a nice little twist that I liked quite a bit. So all in all, I would give it a thumb up and a horror thumb. It's got some stuff about it that I didn't like as far as horror movies go, but for the most part, it does a good job of, like, it starts off, like I said, making you think you understand what it's going to be like, and then it's just going to be some like derivative kind of shitty horror movie. And then it takes a turn down a creative, original road. And I liked it quite a bit. Past that point, I liked it quite a bit. The first half is a little dry and kind of slow, but everything beyond that I enjoyed quite a bit. So I would give it a thumb up and a horror thumb.
Okay.
And that was pretty much my week, other than like Risk of Rain 2, which I don't care to talk about too much. Risk of Rain 2 is good. That's about it. You should, Anthony, you should watch, because I know you sail the high seas for some of the things that you watch. That's fine. You should watch Black Coat's Daughter. I would be interested to hear your opinion on it.
Okay. Will do.
It's a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it.
I watched more things than I played. I'll get through the playing real quick, as I played more MechWarrior Online, and I played Risk of Rain 2 with the boys. So, I mean, MechWarrior Online, I enjoy it. There's nothing else to say about it. Big robots shoot other big robots. Risk of Rain Dos, it's a fun game, primarily when Command is on. Bandit's great. I love him. And, I mean, it's just it's a good game. It's fun playing with the guys. I saw The Vigil, which is a movie. It is a horror film. It is...
Can I Google this without being spoiled?
I don't know. I haven't Googled it. I just kind of watched it. 90% of the movies that I watch is... my dad is like semi-addicted to YouTube, and particularly reaction videos and or like reviewer guys. So he's constantly getting drip-fed like movie recommendations, and he'll just be like, "We're watching this." And it's like, "Okay, cool." And and so The Vigil, it is a horror film. It is about a Jewish practice in which they actually have to stand vigil over the dead, and so this guy is like a freelance one. Um, so he's having like kind of a crisis of faith, and but he needs the money, so he goes in and he's watching this dead guy, and then there's demons, or a demon, and it's very good. I liked it. Yeah, I wouldn't really say that it's like scary, and it doesn't like super suck you in or anything, but I wouldn't say it was a waste of time. Two whore thumbs here. There's one.
Two horror thumbs, no thumb up.
No, yeah, because it was
Wow.
it was it was good. Don't get me wrong, but it's like unless like you're searching for that like very specific, like if you have an itch to scratch, it's good. But I would say don't go out of your way to watch it. Um, there is one scene in the movie that's very, very funny because I'm sure it would make sense to someone who was Jewish, but to me it made no sense at all. Is that there's kind of like a suit up to fight the demon scene involving like some sort of Jewish vestment that I've never seen before. So like for me, without context, he's just like wrapping a square around his arm and like kissing it and praying, and I'm like, what is happening? This probably means a whole lot to a Jewish person, but to me it's just kind of silly. I don't, when I think of like demon fighting arms, I think of like a blessed sword or some sort of magic thing or like a rune and not a square. Like a literal tiny black cube that I'm tying to my bicep. But that's fine. And it was good. It had a really good ending. Most horror films have like a terrible ending, but I mean, long story short, he had this crisis of faith, but he fights a fucking demon in the movie, and then at the end they're like, "So do you want to come to morning prayers?" And he's like, "Nah." The dude,
Wow, spoilers, dude.
I've never seen a movie like that though, where there's like a guy has a
Like how you just went seamlessly right into telling me how it ended.
well, because I think it's again, it's a fine movie to watch and it's worth the journey. The destination is not that important. And to me it's like one of the biggest things in the movie. It's just that I've seen a lot of movies where like the main character has some sort of like personal crisis, and usually at the end it's resolved in a way where you think the writers would want to it. So if they're having a crisis of faith, they like become faithful. If they are having problems with alcohol, like they stop drinking, like that's usually how those things end. And just for this movie, for him to be like, eh, after like fighting a demon, is like kind of awesome to me. It's so refreshing and neat. And it's still a good movie. I give it two horror thumbs because as a horror movie, it's not very scary. Um, uh, but there's like a lot of there's a lot of good scenes and whatnot. It's worth watching, I would say, and it has a great ending that you now know. But it's still worth
I
watching because I'm of course truncating it to the extreme, and there's other stuff involved in the ending that makes it good that I won't mention. Beyond that movie, I watched two series, not the entire of one series and a season of the one is I got back into watching The Expanse. So, I went from watching like two episodes and talking about it, then like not watching it for weeks to now I binge the first season. And that continues to be extremely good. There's so much intrigue. Every single episode is introducing like these awesome plot points that are like really like thought provoking and stuff like that. It's just it's so well thought out. It's the exact opposite of King Kong versus Godzilla. And I mentioned this to Brand the night I saw it. So I think on like the third or fourth episode, there's a character death and a character death fake out, and the fake out happens the episode after. So I genuinely don't know who's at risk because it's not one of those shows where it's like, oh, everyone's gonna die, and you get that pessimistic thing. Where it went out of its way to like, here's a main character, he's dead, and also here's a main character, he's dead. Nah, he's just hurt. So I don't know what is actually like at risk here and how many more of these characters I'm gonna see die and shit. So, it's interesting from that, in that I don't know what the stakes are yet, which makes the anxiety high, especially with all the intrigue. And then the other thing I've been watching is Invincible, which Invincible is very, very good.
Yeah, it's good. I've been wanting to see that. I haven't watched it yet though.
Oh, it's good. It's very good. It's very interesting because it's like just to truncate it, Superman's son.
Hello.
It's not actually Superman. It's
Oh yeah.
this uh, world's version of Superman. Um, is like gaining superpowers at and while high school, so it's like that kind of like classic coming of age tale. But like in a neat Silver Age thing. And even though it's very Silver Age looking, so all the colors are bright and the costumes are classic, it is extraordinarily adult in tone, where it's like people are getting souped by supers, and even
Supers?
what?
Supers? Are they spending meter on these supers?
Yeah,
Are they level
basically.
3s?
Yeah. Um, by supers I mean like superheroes.
Yeah.
Um, and then even like it's not the usual coming of age thing where it's like, man, I hope Becky likes me, where it's like there's already like implied sex and shit even though they're in high school because it's a more realistic take on that type of shit. So it's weird that it has the veneer of like it looks a lot more kid friendly than it is. Its tone is very at odds with its visuals, and then the story is good. I like literally all the characters. Even the characters that like written like this guy is a jerk has like neat redeeming qualities about him and stuff like that. And it's funny. It's weirdly like going from like lighthearted to like really grim and back and forth, but it doesn't feel unbalanced or anything like that. It flows very well. It's very good from top to bottom, I gotta say. It's a very good series. I recommend it. It's on Amazon right now, I think. So if you got that, watch Invincible. And
Cool beans.
that was my week.
Cool.
Who's
All right.
left?
Technically me, but
Technically?
all that Kong versus Godzilla bullshit. Played Risk of Rain with the boys, and I almost finished The Witcher because it's been sitting there in my watch list forever. I'm literally, I think, on the last episode or second to last episode of it. So I gotta finish that up. I was actually going to just binge it, and then I remembered we had the podcast. I've been like watching most of it all day today, and then I was like, oh, I only got like an episode or two left. And I was like, wait a minute, today's Wednesday.
You
Ah,
talking
shit.
about the Netflix Witcher? Is that
Yeah.
what you said? Okay, yeah. Sorry, I zoned out a little bit at the start of that.
Next is Castlevania. Also Netflix.
Oh boy.
You gonna watch Dragon's Blood, Rob?
Probably not.
What a fucking nerd.
I would like to hear what you think about Castlevania because I really liked the first season, and then everything after that was just a terrible train wreck to me.
Yeah.
To me.
I don't know. I'll have to see. I would be very upset because it looks like it has a good start to it. But otherwise, I've been playing Magic Legends. I'm trying that out, which I was talking about while you were gone, Brendan, because we were just seeing an awkward sign list. And I got Spyro, the Reignited trilogy, because that was on sale, and I wanted to relive some of my childhood. And goddamn, do I love replaying Spyro! It's so much fun.
Yeah, does it hold up?
To me, it does. I'm just like, ah.
I haven't played Spyro in fucking ages, dude. I think I had the first one on PS1. I saw the remastered trilogy and I was like, I should get that, and then I never did.
I don't agree with some of the redesigns. I actually miss some of the classic Doofy styles they did.
Isn't it like it's more of like a remake, isn't it? Didn't they like fuck with shit?
Not
Or is it just a
really.
remaster?
It's more of a remaster than a remake, but they mostly just changed up some character designs than anything else. But there are some of the character redesigns that I'm just like, really, you had to do that? Mostly in 3. In 3 is the one I mostly had the most problem, but that's the one I played the most. So that's probably the one I was gonna have the most problem with.
Enjoy that.
And that was my week.
Nice. We need
Cool
to,
beans.
we
I've
need to
written
blast
out
through
most
this
of
news.
I've written out most of the news that's happened over the last 2 weeks from my brain, so everything will be a surprise and a
Same.
reminder.
Well, luckily, like there's like the first week there was like a lot of news, and then the next week there wasn't really much news. So here we go. Total War Rome getting remastered. Will they
Yeah, that's the thing.
fuck it
That's
up
cool.
like 2?
Well, no, they won't because it's a remaster. It's not a remake, and people already know that the game is good. When this news broke, I immediately took it to BB because he's the guy I know that likes Total War Rome immensely. And his response to me was something along the lines of, "That's cool. I'm not gonna get it because CA fucked me with Rome 2." And he wasn't that excited about it. But apparently, I don't know. People have been playing it, and apparently it's pretty good. So I don't know. I don't care that much about it. I like the historical Total War games, but I don't have much of an attachment to Rome. Neat that they're doing it though. That's like one of their most popular historical titles.
I think it's cool. I hope they don't waste a fucking development team on it. Get fucking Total War out, please. Total War 3.
Oh my god! Don't be like that, Richie. We all know that there's multiple teams at CA who work on these things
I know,
independently of
but-
each other.
Don't take good talent away. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, the historical games are good too. Yeah. And they're a completely different team of people.
Future Game Show happened.
I didn't watch any of it. I heard it was shit.
I watched the whole thing.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Well, the last one was okay. We even did like Camel's Watch of it, and it was like
Yeah, that
fine.
was it mounted to me sitting here for like 2 hours just being like, where's Bloodborne on PC, and being excited about the Persona 4 on PC thing, but that was about it, right? Wasn't that the one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the rest of it was just indie stuff, which is cool. I'm not saying indie stuff is bad, but like from what I understand, this one was not mind blowing.
I watched the whole thing, and that one there was like 3 games. I was like, oh, that looks cool. I even added some to my wish list. This one, there was one game that looked kind of okay. That was
Nice.
it. And it's I don't remember what it is, but I'll get it in the editing. It's a kung fu game where if you get beat up, it you don't die, you just go back and train so your character ages, and then you go back to like the exact same
Oh,
spot.
you're talking about Sifu?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that looks
Sifu
good.
is cool. It's the guys that did Absolver, but they're doing a single player focus thing. Because Absolver, for all of its positives, didn't do particularly well in terms of maintaining a player base as time went on. So I guess they were like, hey man, we have a pretty sick combat system. Let's just do it in like a single player driven game. And that's probably intelligent.
Looking good. Everything else, who cares?
Loving review.
Some people care. I
Okay.
didn't.
I know nothing about it, so I can't comment. Hey, you know what would be a really good segue from this? I know you put it like at the end
No,
of the
it's
news
fine. Go
list.
ahead. Go ahead.
Why don't we just talk about E3?
E3 isn't dead. Yay! Question mark.
It exists. Shockingly.
So okay, I have to. We have mentioned that it has been dying and that it's been kind of shit. And honestly, I'm watching it more for like terrible cringe moments than I am any sort of announcement. But it is very convenient because in the months before and after E3, and when people were like E3's not going to be, everyone had their own virtual showcase, and it sucked to get the times for all that stuff. So I'm glad E3's around so that I could like sync one day or one binge watch and know that there is nothing to look forward to.
Can we okay, I'm a bit more positive about this than you are apparently because have you looked at the lineup for this?
No, what's the lineup?
Okay, let me pique your interest real quick. The lineup for E3 as of now is as follows: Nintendo, Xbox,
What?
Capcom,
Interesting.
Konami, Ubisoft, Take-Two Interactive, and Warner Brothers Games. The two that should perk up your fucking ears real quick are Capcom and Konami. What could they be showing?
Well, first off, yeah, that's interesting. I know Konami has had E3s before, and kind of hysterical ones. One Marion Troopers. But for them to come back, and then also Nintendo. Nintendo was like one of the first to be like, nah, fuck E3, we're gonna do directs. So it's really weird that they're like, E3's back, and so are we.
You know why? I
They
bet.
have to go on stage to just say that they're removing Smash Brothers from Evo. That's the entire conference.
It's just Sakurai comes out and he's like, "We will not be at Evo. Goodbye." And then he walks off stage.
But it's still booked for an entire hour.
Oh, and then he walks off stage and comes back and he's like, "Oh, and the next character's a Fire Emblem character. Goodbye." then
We're
walk-
spoiling the next pass. It's all sword fighters.
It's all Sword Fire Emblem character. Every single one. Goodbye.
And it's just then it's like 40 minutes of just hanging on an empty podium and people screaming.
I guarantee you that the reason why Nintendo is doing this, and they're gonna have a presence at this, is because it's online only. It's an online only E3. They don't really have to dedicate a lot of resources to doing this. Just get some footage of some cool announcements. Get them on stage with everyone else's fucking announcements. Like, why not?
Maybe they'll announce the Switch Pro that's been rumored.
Yeah, that's possible actually. E3 would be a really good place to do that. Actually, I didn't even think about that. The thing that interests me the most though is Konami. I want to know why Konami is here, because we all know that Konami has been out of the gaming space for a little bit since like Metal Gear Survive, and we've pretty much
40
heard.
minutes of pachinko.
Shut the fuck up. Here are our new pachinko machines.
Zone of the Enders pachinko.
Yeah, new Silent Hill game,
Pachinko.
playable only on a pachinko machine.
We went
I'm
back.
very-
We got the HD re-release of 1 through 3. We redid
God.
it so the smoke is back, and it's only available on pachinko.
The entirety of
the
Silent Hill 2.
pachinko machine actually has a fog machine built into it. That's how you get the fog back in Silent Hill.
It's an actual HD remaster of Silent Hill 2. Playable only on a pachinko machine.
And it's shaped like Pyramid Head.
Oh god, stop.
The idea
We
is
can't-
they're flowing.
We can't will this into existence. I will actually roll down my roof and into my fucking driveway. Anyway.
I like the visual of you just rolling off your roof. You're not
Yeah, well, if I jump
jumping
on my-
from the roof. You're so defeated you can't even like jump. You have
If I
to just roll to your
Physically,
demise.
if I just jump out of my window, I would kind of have to also clear my roof, and I can't do that. So I'll probably just jump out the window, hit the roof, roll down the roof, and into my driveway, and die.
It's a very good.
Assuming it kills me, it might just mangle me, and that might even be better.
So your
Just
your
live with the
outer
suffering.
appearance will resemble your inner suffering.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm excited about Konami being there because one could hope, and I've been bringing this to the news roundups for like a year now,
Mhm.
that there's been quite a bit of Silent Hill leaks and rumor going on. One could hope that maybe, just possibly, it's probably not going to happen, but maybe at the C3, they'll be like, hey guys, we're working with Kojima and his studio on a brand new Silent Hill game. It's going to be incredible. You're all going to love it. Here it is. And we'll get a trailer, and my boner will pop through the fucking ceiling, and I'll be really excited, and they'll be like, and it's not only on a PlayStation console, and I won't jump out my window. Or it'll be Silent Hill 2 remaster on a pachinko machine, and then I'll jump out my window. It's going to be one of those two.
Or even better, Silent Hills mobile.
Don't you guys have phones?
Don't you guys have phones?
Stop it. Stop. You can only play for like so many like minutes before you have to put in money to buy like Norman Reedus bucks to progress. You have like a stamina meter. that
Oh,
requires
God.
Redis blocks.
Every time you interact with a jammed or locked door, the stamina meter goes down.
Oh no!
There's 800 doors in the game.
Please purchase more Redis blocks to continue.
We'll take a sponsorship for this idea, by the way, guys.
No, please, seriously. I can't will that into existence either. Then we'll get all the hate for it too.
You see, if you use our special promo code Camel,
You get 50% more Redis bucks with your purchase.
you'll start off with this great new. I can't even fucking finish.
Stop, please. Someone from Konami's listening. They've bugged this Discord call. They're like, wow, what an incredible idea. Absolutely amazing. Anyway, I hope it's a fucking Silent Hill announcement. It's probably not going to be, but I have to get my hopes up. The other thing that interests me is Capcom, because I am struggling at the moment to think about anything that we know is coming from Capcom.
I mean, there's
Other
all those
than-
leaks that they could make real.
That's true, yes. We know about the leaks, but other than that and other than RE8, which I don't think, well, yeah, RE8 will have been out by the time this is happening. So what else do we know Capcom is doing? We know Street Fighter V DLC. There's one character that they have not yet announced. And no one knows why they're keeping that a secret, because there's people who have some big brain ideas that it might be like a KOF character to wrap up the last season of Street Fighter V, which would be kind of sick. There's that, and there's Street Fighter 6 at some point in the future, but like other than that and other than the leaks, like what do we know is concrete? Not much. So what the fuck is Capcom gonna show? I know for a fact, with all my heart, that there is no fucking way in hell this fucking E3 comes around and they're like, hey guys, here's Marvel vs. Capcom 4. That's not gonna happen. I want it to happen, but it's not gonna happen, and I just have to come to terms with that.
It's okay. Lost Planet 4 will be there for sure.
I mean, that would be fine if it's good. It's not gonna happen.
It's not going to happen.
It's not. It's about as equivalent of a chance as Marvel vs. Capcom.
I would say there's more of a chance with that. I mean, Marvel's making
Yeah.
some money and stuff, you know?
Oh, you more of a chance of what? Marvel vs. Capcom?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would almost think of it in the reverse, just because the poor reception of MVCI, plus like there's kind of a history of people who made MVCI happen not even being at their respective companies anymore. So it's like, will an MVC4 actually occur? God, I want it to so fucking bad, but I know it's not going to.
Maybe we'll get Capcom versus Konami instead.
I would take a Capcom versus SNK.
Eh.
I'd take a new CVS. That would be kind of sick, actually. And SNK is back in like a big way. Have you seen all this big brain shit that's been going on recently? Which kind of ties into this story, so like fuck it. I'll just mention it briefly. But people who like are head of development, like the head of dev at Capcom for Street Fighter V at the moment, is tweeting a bunch of shit and like interacting with SNK people actively and like consistently. So that's where the big brain theory comes from, that like the last Street Fighter V character might be a KOF character, and then when KOF 15 comes out, it might have like a Capcom team that's just like 3 Street Fighter characters or something like that, and then maybe we get like a CVS in the future. It's very possible, and Capcom's at E3, so like I don't know, dude. It's not going to be a fucking CVS, though. And it's not going to be Marvel vs. Capcom as much as I want it to be. God, I would fucking kill. I'm sorry, okay? I know I'm rambling. I want a fucking MVC4 so bad, dude. Give me a Marvel vs. Capcom 4 that has like the mechanics of Infinite, but with a kick-ass fucking roster of like sick Capcom characters that deserve to be in a Marvel vs. Capcom game that like never have been before, you know.
Gene.
Non-MCU related Marvel characters, like, fuck, man, just do it. Put Leon in that bitch. Let's get Samanosuke in there. Fuck it,
Yeah.
Akira was just is going to be an SF5. Let's get a fucking rival schools rep in that bitch. Put Akira on fucking Capcom side, bro. Oh, I want it so bad. It's not gonna happen.
God, he's nutting.
Nothing at the concept. It's
He's
never gonna occur.
conceptually nutting, which is a song name, by the way.
Want it so bad. Put Nero in that bitch. I mentioned this before. How awesome would Nero be in a Marvel vs. Capcom game with Red Queen revving
Oh
as
yeah,
a
that'd be
mechanic
very
in a
cool.
fighting game? Oh, my boner, dude. The coom.
And you'd have a lot of options too.
The coom. Dude. Oh my god, yes. And you could have the Buster arms, the
Yeah,
arms,
he's got grapple options. He's got ranged options.
the Devil Breakers. What the fuck were they called in DMC5? I don't even remember what they were called. But the arms, the revving.
Arms.
Just fucking like don't put Dante and Virgil in it because they've already been in Marvel vs. Capcom's like twice. Not Virgil, but Dante.
Throw a
And put fucking.
curveball. Put Lady in.
I was just about to say that. Put Lady in. She could be a fucking. She'd play like Arthur, kind of. Like she'd be like kind of a Zoni sort of character.
Who is the like the main chick from Devil May Cry 2?
Stop. I know exactly what you're talking about.
That would be so funny.
Lucia.
Everyone would be so pissed. Oh,
I
it'd
think
be so
listen,
funny.
I think Lucia's cool. Okay,
Yeah,
I
she's
might be in the
fine.
minority. Her Devil Trigger was really sick. It's a cool design. I wouldn't mind seeing her come back. But fucking like Nero and Lady and whatever. I'm sick of rambling about this. The Capcom's going to be at E3. They're not going to announce MVC4 as much as I want them to. But it's probably going to be. I don't know. Maybe they show the last Street Fighter character, and maybe we get one of those leaks.
That's what I'm gonna name this chapter. Is Capcom will be at E3. MVC4 will not be announced.
Yeah, MVC, but MVC4 will not be.
Speaking of not be, Soul Reaver was temporarily removed from Steam. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's a very interesting story.
I was talking about 2 weeks ago, or maybe more weeks than that, how there's rumors that maybe it's getting remade by a third party.
That could be cool.
I
But
would love a remake.
It would be cool, but the problem that we spoke about is that from what we knew of that rumor and leak, it was supposed to be a Square property specifically,
yeah,
wasn't it?
so it may not.
So this is
and-
like very confusing.
But still, even if this is just to fix that terrible ass port, that's fine.
The thing that's really odd about this is that people have fixed ports in the past, right? And typically it does not come with the entire removal
No.
of the version of the game
Yeah.
from the platform, like before they fix it. So what's going on with that? It doesn't really make sense. Unless they're just like trying to keep the shitty port out of people's hands for as long as possible. But like it's not like people are rushing to purchase Soul Reaver on Steam for any reason. It just doesn't seem necessary to me to like rip it down just because you're fixing a port. I don't know.
It's very mysterious. Keep an eye out for it. Honestly, that was like a week ago. Maybe something had already happened, but we didn't follow it up well.
I would have heard of it. I checked.
Brandon's like, I fucking keep my shit up with that.
I would have heard of it. I checked news, man. I would have heard of it. If this has anything to do with a new like Soul Reaver game, I'll shit my pants.
Oh, I would be
It's not-
all over that.
It's not going to, but I'll shit my pants if it does.
Even if it does, it's not probably gonna not have Henning behind it, so it could be written like total fucking shit.
Yeah, it's possible.
Which that would be the worst outcome. So it's the most likely, I would say.
You know what's weird about this too is that they removed Soul Reaver, but they didn't pull anything else, right? Like Blood Omen 2 is still on Steam, correct?
I haven't checked, but I mean this
You go look,
mentions
right?
only that, so I would imagine.
Yeah, it's Blood Omen 2 is still being sold, so and that port sucks too. So I don't know. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Next story, what we do know is going on is new Call of Duty for 2021 is Call of Duty Vanguard, set in World War II. We're back, boys.
It's good to see them never break the mold.
Been a bit. Well, here's the problem, Rob. Every time they do break the mold, people hate it, and I
Which,
don't understand
even though
why.
it's often unjustified as fuck, like in Infinite's case. Though, to be fair, the multiplayer for Infinite was fucking cancer, so. And that's kind of what a lot of people buy these fucking games for,
It's like
unfortunately.
90% of the COD community.
Yeah. Oh well. Whoops.
When was the last time they made a World War II game? Has it been since World at War? Because that was a long time ago. Or was there one after that?
I feel like they had to have revisited it, but like maybe they didn't.
God, I'm so out of the COD loop. I feel like it was World at War was the last one. I'm probably fucking wrong though.
Call of Duty World War II was 2017.
Oh, wow, there was another one.
But still, that's quite a bit.
There was a World War II COD in 2017? Holy fuck.
I guess people didn't care.
I don't know, it's rated quite highly. I don't remember this at all. Goes to show that I don't pay attention to COD much nowadays.
But yeah, we're back in World War II, baby. I always find that funny. It's like it used to be nothing but World War II, and then Modern Warfare High, and then like, oh, let's try some other stuff, and it's like, Black Ops is getting stale. World War II. It's hard to pick like what other weird conflicts, because you can't really do conflicts that are extremely morally gray.
COD Vietnam or whatever.
Yeah, well, there could Vietnam. I think you
COD
could
Nam.
do that. I think that's fine, but that feels more Black Opsy. You can't do like a Call of Duty like Rhodesia. You can't do that. That's not allowed. You can't do you can't do Call of Duty Ukraine.
God.
People wouldn't be happy about that.
Oh no. Oh no no no.
So you're kind of like stuck with like these handful of wars.
Call
Dude,
of Duty
you know what?
Grenada.
You know me, Grenada. The the kill streak is you start playing like Spice Girls at max volume, and it makes them give up. That's the equivalent of the tactical nuke. Let's do like Call of Duty 1776.
Big problem with COD, dude, is that every time they try to do anything that's not just Modern Warfare and then World War II rotation, people don't like it. So that's why you get this over and over again. Anytime they try to do anything remotely creative, people are like, no. And then they just kind of fall back on the rotation because it sells and they make gigabucks. I mean, the other ones sell too, but then people complain about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Has there ever been a that didn't sell? I'm pretty sure they all fucking sell.
yeah, that's true. They don't sell as much, and that cuts into executive officer bonuses. So
And then they're quote unquote failures. When in reality they made more money than most developers would like pray for.
in their entire careers.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Keep an eye out
Back
for
to
it.
the rotation.
I wonder what cancer will be in this one.
I don't know, man. People like recent CODs. Apparently they're quite good multiplayer wise. So
Yeah, but we're talking about people who like King Kong versus Godzilla. Like,
oh, God. What's the overlap on
The-
COD fans and
well,
Kong fans?
what I mean is, I know, I think at even World War II, there was like this big uproar where they had kind of like the Battlefield-esque loot boxes where it was like tied to progression, where like, oh, you don't just unlock stuff in a tier, you had to like you could buy it and get new guns and stuff, not just like random shit. So that's I am always leery of EA, and even that's what sunk Infinite, was that there was like 7 different grinding layers. Luckily you couldn't just throw money at it at that point, but EA are scumbags, and in chasing down money and retention, I won't be surprised if they do something that is not fun. They've done it before, and I'm always leery. I'm sure the campaign's going to be fine. I'm sure it's going to play well. It's going to look good, but
I don't know, man. All I know is people like the Warzone, and recent COD multiplayer has been well received. So I don't know. I'm sure it'll be a fine video game.
mm,
I'm not gonna get it, but
polar opposite of shooting games. Our next news story is Tarkov.
how is that like, yeah, you know what? Sometimes Tarkov is the polar opposite of a shooting game. Sometimes you don't shoot shit. You just hide in a corner with a graphics card up your ass, and you forget that you're playing a first-person shooter. I was surprised you even put this in the news roundup, to be honest, because it's just patch notes, and they're not even that impressive. It was just me complaining about them for a little while.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a game we play. It's got a big following, um, and it's getting what there's an update, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like also part of the reason why I'm surprised to put it in the news roundup is because it's not a really significant update. It was just me complaining. So all they did was they put in a couple new guns and changed. They actually did change, unbeknownst to me until a little bit later, some spawns on customs. Not that it solves my major issue with the spawns on customs. And they also showed off that in not this update, but the next update, or I think people are assuming it'll be the next update, that Factory will be getting its rework, and they will be putting in the scav boss of Factory.
Wow, there's going to be a scav boss on Factory.
Yes, and he's a man with a sledgehammer.
Ooh,
Oh my god.
I like that. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
was literally about to say is that unless they really expand Factory, like how are you gonna have a boss? And it's very easy. You make him melee.
Yeah, you make well, I'm assuming he's gonna have a gun too, but if you get close enough, he probably uses the sledgehammer. I'm gonna assume he doesn't just run around with the sledgehammer, but maybe he does. Or maybe he'll have the sledgehammer, but he'll have goons with him that do all the shooting for him. Or maybe he'll have the sledgehammer and to make him viable, he's fucking jacked defensively like Killa.
Yeah,
Um,
kill it with a sledgehammer.
yeah, horrifying thought. Um, I'm interested in that more than this patch that just happened because it just feels like, and I'm not an idiot. Like, I keep this brief because there's not a lot to talk about. I'm not a moron. I realize that there's people at BSG who work on different things apart from each other. So the people who are in charge of putting new guns into the game are not the same people who are in charge of balancing existing shit or fucking with spawns on maps or working on streets or whatever. But it's like this update was just so like we feel like we haven't done anything in like quite some time since wipe, so here's a little update that like barely incorporates anything, and everyone will eat it up and be like, ooh, new content, when in reality it's like barely anything at all. And we'll shuffle some custom spawns around even though it like really doesn't change much of anything about the dog shit starting meta on customs, especially like across the river. So I'm not super impressed by it, but I'm excited for the factory boss. I'm excited for that. I don't know if I'll play it when he comes out because I don't really have anyone playing with me, and I'm playing a hunt. And it seems like most people aren't really. It seems like most people aren't interested in getting back into Tarkov at the moment. So I guess I'm just fucked until next wipe. Um, but I don't know. It's interesting. I'll be curious to see if a scav boss with sledgehammer is a viable thing to have on a map, and if he'll actually be horrifying. Probably will be.
Yeah, I've had horrible luck with Tarkov wipes. I want to play Tarkov, but every time a wipe happens, I'm like unable to play it for an extended period of time. And then when it's like I'm level 5 and I know everyone is a killer, I don't want to play it.
Yeah, it's still possible to play though. I
Yeah, it's not
when
impossible, but
when we first started, we came in like 3 months post like the last wipe, I think. Like the first time we ever started playing Tarkov at all. I think the wipe had happened in like November and we started in like January or February or something like that. So like we came in when people had shit, and it didn't feel like a bad experience, to be honest. So like it's possible to do it. I don't think it's quite as big of a deal as a lot of people make it out to be, but it's definitely like, yeah, you'll run into Giga Chads, whereas like day one of Wipe, you'll get the experience of just running into people who have like nothing. But like Wipe only matters for like a week anyway. And then everyone who no lifes it has crazy shit. This was my first experience ever playing from a wipe. This last wipe, me and Matt played from like day one of wipe, and Richie actually too, I believe, right? To some extent, weren't you
Yeah.
around? I think, yeah. So it mattered at first, and then for like about after like a week, we were running into people who had like Giga kits. It wasn't like tons of people with Giga kits, but you would run into someone who was like, okay, you take one look at their corpse and you're like, this guy's been playing nonstop for like a whole week because he's got like the tier 5 armor, he's rocking like a meta M4, and you're like, what the fuck, man? It's been like 7 days. What's wrong with you? Like, go play a different fucking game. So like, to be honest, it doesn't matter that much. You could jump into Tarkov right now and still have fun with it.
Now that's an entirely different claim.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, fun is not always synonymous with Tarkov.
There is no fun
Saying
when
someone
playing
who has
Tarkov.
fun playing that game is very bold.
Play Hunt. It's just fun. Get it while it's on sale.
Speaking of on sale, GameStop to be hosting PC parts and other paraphernalia.
In an attempt to save their business
For them.
from burning to the ground.
I thought it was always weird when they got rid of it in the first fucking place.
I didn't know they ever did sell like PC parts.
Well, not
I wasn't aware of
parts,
that.
but I mean, I remember going to like the game store. I guess that was technically Electronics Boutique at the time, but they got bought by GameStop. But whatever, they had like, the game boxes for PC games, but now it's just like there's a bigger section devoted to Funko Pops than to fucking PC gaming. And it's
Well, who the
still
fuck-
gaming. It's like, why not?
Yeah, but who the fuck buys physical PC games anymore?
I would.
That's not the point.
I
Just
know.
because you would means that 99% of people would not, myself included. As much as I miss the days of going to the store and buying that absurd box that your PC game used to come in, that you had to install on like 9 CDs and shit like that, or off of 9 CDs, like with your giga fucking manual that came in the box and all that
was
crazy
the
shit.
best part.
Sometimes with a flip front panel. Remember when PC gaming boxes used to have that front panel?
Well, yeah, it was like
That was-
Velcroed shut.
Holy
Yeah. You
Yeah.
flip it open, it would just have like screenshots and like details about the game in it, like that, like just like as part of the box, so you could pick it up off the shelf and open it and look at it.
How the
Um,
fuck dare they charge us $70 for what is just like a CD holder now? Compared to we were spending $40 and we got like it was like a 3D embezzled like door opening with like a 200-page manual of like lore and
I mean, dude,
art.
It's even worse than that. You're spending $60 to $70 now for an EXE if you're just buying it digital.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, you think about the crazy physical shit you used to get when you bought like a physical PC game.
I still have my books for Guild Wars, Ground Control, and Mech Commander.
Yeah, I have my big. I'm actually looking
and
behind me right
StarCraft.
now. I'm looking behind me to see if I can find it. I have my big collector's edition, Guild Wars. Shit. What was the name of the? Fuck.
Nightfall?
Yes, Nightfall. That one.
I didn't
Thank
get
you.
that one.
How'd you
Because
like
there
telepathically
were
know?
multiple expansions too. I could have said the Asian one that I don't remember.
I was literally about factions. I was literally about to say.
Look at that.
I was literally about to say like the desert one and
It's
before I even
almost
got it
like
out.
we fucking no-lifed Guild Wars when we were younger.
That game was so good.
It was.
I'm actually kind of excited about the fact that they're making like a Cantha expansion for Guild Wars 2 right now. I'm kind of hype about that.
Yeah.
Like I will probably turn the game on again when that comes out just to fuck around in it because Factions was so good. And I know it's not going to be as good as Factions was in Guild Wars 1, but like fuck, dude.
Anyway, to loop it around real quick, the main reason that GameStop is doing this is they know that any graphics card they get in their hand on, they could throw $100 markup on it, and it's going to be gone the second that they open the door.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
It's kind of stupid that they didn't get on this sooner. I
That's
bet
a fair
you,
point.
I bet you, just because they're cursed, by the time they get all the logistics set up and the kiosk and like they actually like the supply crisis will be solved, like at the
Yeah.
same time.
Knowing GameStop's luck, because that would be a lot of money coming in if they can fucking capitalize on like actually getting like 30 series cards in people's hands through their physical stores. They'll probably get them in, and then no one will have a reason to go to a GameStop for a card. It'll be like that day, Nvidia will announce we've solved botting, and we've killed every scalper with a hit squad, and now GameStop is irrelevant. End of story.
That'll be fairly likely, honestly. Um, Next is Guilty Gear Strive. Very interesting article mentioning a early access for everyone but PC users. Because
Yep,
fuck
not
us.
surprising. This tends to be how this goes, though. I mean, for fuck's sake, we didn't even get the open beta.
Yeah.
Like, I read this and I was like, yeah, of course we don't get early access. Like that's usually how this goes.
For me, it's weird that there's early access when there's already been like betas, and that even like this thing, it's like, oh, you have all modes and characters. Like there's no one going to be locked off. You could do arcade, you could be training, you could do. It's literally the game is launching, but it's early access, and it's not on PC.
Yeah, I mean, even the early access thing is like ArcSys does this. Just a thing that they do. They do it with Dragon Ball. They do it with every DLC character. Where if you bought the season pass, you can play a DLC character when it comes out like a few days early from everybody else.
Mm.
So you can go online and be like, look, I'm playing Kefla, and like against someone who can't because they didn't buy the pass, they like just bought her or whatever. So it's not early access content is not new to ArcSys games. It just sucks that it's not a PC thing, especially because I have the fucking game pre-ordered. But I guess because I'm a PC user, my pre-order bucks are not good enough for an early access. I found more interesting though was something you didn't put in the news roundup that I had posted, which was, did you see the stats they put out from the open beta?
No, what?
Okay, so they put out stats from the open beta test. One of it was just like, what did people think about each mode? And that was pretty much how you would assume it to go. It was like everyone hates the lobby, but everyone likes the netcode and they like the versus mode and blah, 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 blah. Like exactly what you would think. But then the more interesting part was two charts they put out, which was about characters. The first one was, which character did you use the most? And this was like sort of varied by region a little bit. In Japan, North America, Europe, and Oceania regions, Ram was the most played.
Oh,
But
nice.
in Asian and South America regions, Sol and Giovanna were the most played. So Ram mostly, but in two regions, Sol and Geo were top. Then you get to which character did you like the most? In every single region, Ram was first place.
Neat.
In every single region. And then Nago was like fifth most played in every single region. But every fucking region likes Ram the most.
She's got thigh physics, my dude. And her ending has a puppy. Who's not gonna pick that?
The horniness, dude, is just unreal in the Guilty Gear community. Which character do you like the most? Everyone
It's
likes
it's
Ram. Even the
it's
people who
not
aren't playing her. Most played, Asia, Soul. What do you like the most? Asia, Ram. What the fuck is going
it's
on,
not
dude?
straight horniness because like there's plenty of other horny in Guilty Gear. There's various
Yeah.
flavors of horny. So it can't be straight horniness. I think she's just got the right mixture of traits. Oh, she's cold. There's a puppy. She shows emotion, thigh physics.
It's also very possible that the reason she's most played, not most liked, but most played in like Japan and NA, is because she's a little OP
Mm,
in the current state of the game by most people's standards. Like she's very strong. It's like her and Potemkin that people are like, I would like to see nerfs before the game comes out, please. So, not entirely shocking that they were most played in a couple regions, but an interesting little thing. I love seeing charts where a character is not most played in some regions when we get stats like this, but is still most liked. It's a very Biken-esque situation where like people
mm.
have pointed this out before, where like everyone loves Biken. Like if you're a Guilty Gear player, you like Biken. You like her design. You think she's cool, but you don't play her. Like 90% of people don't play Biken. The people who like Biken do not play her because she's awkward as fuck and her playstyle is strange. So she'll top like I want this character in the game charts, but then when she comes out, like a quarter of the people who voted for her to like in a poll are actually playing her. It's interesting. I like seeing stats like this.
The world is horny.
It's true.
I mean, I didn't think that needed to be overstated there. I mean, that's a given. We have OnlyFans. The world is horny.
Oh yeah, fuck.
Silence, wench. Do not wish to be horny anymore.
I wish to be happy.
I love that meme with
That's
all my
so good.
heart.
Cyberpunk. Its multiplayer may be canceled, but there may be new games and as well Witcher games. What is happening at CD Projekt? Heads have
This is
had to
They're
have
trying to
rolled.
recover.
Yeah.
This was a pretty shocking story. I didn't think that the fallout from Cyberpunk would result in them just being like, we're not doing the multiplayer anymore. But if you think about it,
No, it makes
it
sense.
it makes sense because they're trying to get back on track as like the single player RPG company that everybody knew them as
Well,
before all this.
and even just from a logistics standpoint, is that they expanded a lot before Cyberpunk launched, and it still was like a buggy kind of piece of shit. And then it's like, okay, we have to fix this. Well, also in 2 years, we're going to release a multiplayer version of this.
Yeah. Because a lot of the articles are reading that it's not necessarily canceled yet. It's just they're reconsidering it, whatever that means. So like, I wouldn't be shocked if way down the line we still get some kind of multiplayer game, but I bet we won't see it until like another single player Cyberpunk game comes out, which supposedly they're going to start developing next year alongside a new Witcher game. Like the article's written in such a that all the articles I've read about this are written in such a fashion that it sounds like they're going to do like tandem development where they're like next year we're starting a new Witcher game and a new Cyberpunk game. It's very interesting. I'm fine with this even if the multiplayer never happens. I just want good single player RPGs more than I care about like a multiplayer skew of Cyberpunk personally. So like this is good news to me
Yes.
more than a negative, like speaking for myself.
This game needs to be No Man's Skied. Like a year or two of just like, yeah, all those things that you pointed out that we said in marketing but don't actually exist. Here they are for free. Okay, now we're going to like work on an expansion or something,
Yeah.
or a Witcher in this case.
Well, who knows what the fuck's even gonna happen with that? Like we know about all the free updates we're supposedly getting for as well as like paid content that we're supposedly going to get for this game. I wonder if they're starting development on a brand new game as early as next year. I wonder how much shit we're even going to get for the first one. I'll be interested to see.
Me too. Especially since I own the game.
Yeah.
And again, gameplay was pretty good. I would like to play it again, but I really need a reason to.
Yeah, I'm glad I waited and still have not finished it because they just put in that they just put out that patch that made it so you
Massive
can
patch.
dodge with a button.
Yep.
Fucking incredible. That should have been there from day one. I could not stand that double tap to dodge shit.
Speaking of Dead or Alive director leaves Koei Tecmo. His name being, as I scroll up violently.
When you write out the news stories, are you already formulating segues in your head
Shimbori. No, not at all. I'm
as
doing
you're
them
right
on the
now?
spot.
Okay,
Why?
I don't believe you. You're thinking about them. You're
No, I'm
writing it
not.
down in text, and you're like, when I get to this one, I can say this at the end of this, and then when I get here, I can be
But
like,
that
yeah.
would only make sense if there weren't weeks where I'm like, I have no segues. Here's the
I know.
next story.
Well, those are lazy weeks. You write it, but you're like, fuck it, I don't give a fuck.
I put in the time to write it. And then I just don't use it out of being too lazy to read.
You use the paragraph of like the order, but you're not thinking of segues because you're like, fuck it, I don't give a shit. But sometimes you're writing it and you're like, yeah, I can do this.
Thank you for
this and this.
complimenting my segues.
I am.
Anyway, it's
I mean, I didn't say
Yohei
they were strong
Shimbori.
this week. I just said you put some thought into it. That's all I said. All right, come on.
All right. Love you too. Yohei Shimbori, the mastermind of some CG titties.
Of tits and ass.
Not the tits and ass.
He worked on Dead or Alive for 16 years. Think about that. How does this man not walk out of the studio and just like sexually assault like the first thing he sees? 16 years.
I mean, he may have been doing that for 16
That's why.
years.
That's why he's leaving.
It's yeah. In that man's mind, his age was set to 99 at all times. And it was a constant issue.
He's like,
It's really
look, I gotta
highbrow, Dead or Alive
quit.
chick.
I gotta quit. I have like 47 children, and this needs to stop. Yeah, it's weird. The first fighting game that I would say that I played with like any resemblance for a game was probably any resemblance of a brain was probably Dead or Alive 2. Because I played like Street Fighter and stuff like younger, but Christ, did I not know what a fighting game was at that point?
Yeah.
And I've always liked Dead or Alive video games. They're good.
Yeah.
Not really
Alive
fan
games-
of like the weirder shit. Like this guy worked on the fighting games. Like he has like Paradise under it, but not like the volleyball dimension panties or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
He started with Dead or Alive Ultimate, did 4, Extreme 2, Paradise, Dimensions, 5 Ultimate, 5 Last Round, Dead or Alive 6. He did the fighting game stuff, and he's leaving.
Wasn't Extreme 2 one of the creepy ones?
Yes. I think
Yeah,
Paradise was his one as well.
Okay, yeah. So he didn't just do the fighting games. He did some of the creepy
But
stuff.
but there was in between there were many more creepy stuffs.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. DOA is always one of those games where its mechanics gonna get overshadowed by the stigma, let's call it. the horniness and the extreme amounts of paid waifu costumes.
That, you know what? That's even crazy. Have you paid like any sort of attention to like what's been going on with like the volleyball type games?
No, I mean I've paid
They've
attention to the.
they've made they've run out of horny costumes, so there's just like 10 extra girls now. And they have backstories and voice lines and
What?
personalities, but they haven't been in a single fighting game.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean, when was the last time they made a horny volleyball game?
that's
Like
part of the
recently?
mystery is that they were being released all this time. I think they're still in like Extreme Volleyball 2 or whatever.
No, are you serious? I see Extreme 3 in 2016. What was the most recent game?
I think that was it. I don't know. I gotta look at Dead or Alive.
Yeah, I don't even see an Extreme 4. I don't think it exists. An article from 2020. Koei Tecmo is still pretending Dead or Alive Extreme doesn't exist. You might be wondering where Dead or Alive 6's latest DLC character comes from, since Koei Tecmo pretends the DOA Extreme doesn't exist. I guess they brought a character over to DOA 6 from Extreme and then didn't tell anyone that that's where it was from. Yeah, I guess they have not put out a new pervy volleyball game since 2016. But they've brought characters from it over to 6.
Dead or Alive Extreme 3 Scarlet was released 2019, and this looks pervy as hell. But yeah, there's like a demon girl, so there's beyond like Neo Tengu, who's just a female version of Tengu. And then there's just like 20 other girls who are just like, look, she's has blue hair and a
Okay.
snarky personality.
Was Extreme 3 Scarlet like Japan only or something? Because it's insanely expensive on eBay.
Really?
Yeah.
Sure. I'll say it is. I don't know. I'd literally just Wikipedia to find out that it exists.
I've never heard of Extreme 3 Scarlet, and for some reason it's very expensive. Yeah, it says, yeah, English subs. It might be a Japan only thing, which would explain why I didn't know about it. And why most people clearly don't, because I've never heard of it.
But yeah, there's like 40 characters that are exclusive to like just those games.
Well, anyway, that guy's gone. They'll continue to make probably not Extreme.
You know,
but
that was
'cause-
probably why. They were just making waifus in the office, and he was like, hey guys, you want to make a fighting game again? And they were like, retire. Get out of here. You two...
Well, six is far more recent than Extreme.
Mm.
Even Extreme 3 Scarlet. 6 came out like a year ago or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So it's not an old game. I wonder what this means for DOA, because the DOA was always weird. Like 6 came out and they were like, they cut down on the pervy shit a little bit, where everyone's costumes like were not as creepy. And like they just tried to make it like a decent fighting game, seemingly to compete with like other esports games and shit, and then like you don't hear anything about it. Like it never made it to like a main stage Evo or anything like that.
I think it's unfortunately its pedigree has kind of ruined it because it was always a solid fighting game.
The stigma.
But it got known for horny. So when it comes out and it's like we're even more serious and we're even less horny, but we still have like the same roster. Like these are the horny characters that you've killed potential children to. Everyone looks at that and they go, "Oh, look, it's the newest version of that like titty
JO
volleyball
Simulator.
game." Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They don't realize that it's like, no, this started as a fighting game and a damn good one. It just had like a lot of fan service. Like, so I don't know. I think people like think it's Rumble Roses when it was never Rumble Roses.
Yeah.
That's
in
what
the
Koei
sense
Tecmo
that-
is gonna announce at E3, a new Rumble Roses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Holy
No,
shit.
it'll be another 50 like paid costumes for DOA6 or whatever.
Anyway, speaking about old games, old fighting games, fucking Virtual Fighter 5 remastered? What is this? This makes no sense. So, this needs a little prep work. Virtual Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown was rated for the PlayStation 4 in Korea, which means that there's going to be a port on it, or for it on the PlayStation 4. PlayStation 4 is not the PlayStation 5.
This is true.
And Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown is already available for PC on like the Microsoft Store and other avenues. Like there's already port versions of. Is this a new version? What is this?
I don't know. I'll be honest, I'm not particularly up on it. I haven't done a lot of research into this. What's it called exactly? Virtua Fighter 5. Trying to find the article. Ultimate
Ultimate
Showdown.
Showdown.
Yeah, I mean, the one in the Microsoft store that I'm looking at is not called that. It's just Final Showdown. I'm assuming there's something about this that's new and unique. I don't know why the fuck it's getting rated for PS4.
It has
That's
new soundtrack by Lemon Demon.
that went over my head.
Those were the guys that did Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
I don't feel any which way about this. I was never like a massive Virtua Fighter fan. It's cool that something's happening, but why is it just a port of a game that came out in like 2011?
Yeah, it's mad old. It's already been ported to things, kind of, maybe not the exact same version. I I hope, and I wouldn't put it past Sega because they're tone deaf and bad. That there's all this like hype, and they were teasing maybe a new Virtual Fighter. So maybe this is just to like a further probe for interest. It's like, hey, let's release it on the current highest grossing console and see what bite, so we could project from there or something. Um, or this is what they were teasing the entire time, which would just be fucking hysterically disappointing.
I don't know. One could hope that it's more of a kind of like what you said, just use numbers from both, like minimum expense, port this old shit, see how many people buy it, get Virtua Fighter back into like the public consciousness, and then push a new game in like a year or two that they make. That would
Hell,
be
even
cool.
use it to like focus test the budgeting for the new game from a marketing perspective and all that type of
Yeah,
stuff. Oh, we
that
moved
would
a
be
lot of
cool.
money. We moved a lot of units. Okay, we'll pump that budget up. Oh, we didn't. Cut it back a little bit.
That would be really neat, but who knows if that's what's happening. One could hope, but like there's so little to go on with this story, to be completely honest. It's just like, why are they porting this ancient fucking game? Are they just doing it because they're trying to make a quick buck? Because they know that like there is an audience for Virtua Fighter, even if it's kind of small, and there's been like nothing new for it in almost a decade, or like an actual fucking decade. Who knows? Are they testing the waters for a new VF? I don't know. They want those esports bucks. They want their esports fighting game.
They do really
They're
badly.
they're paving the way for it either by attempting to somehow get an ancient fighting game to an esports level, which would is probably not going to happen, or they're testing the waters for a new VF.
The only reason I could see that reality coming is that like the director, who off the top of my head I don't know who the director of Virtual Fighter is like insane. And or like the guy, there's like a CEO that is like insane and was like, no, we got it perfect. We can't. There's no alteration, no need. This is the game that's gonna take us.
Fighter cannot be improved from this point. It's
Right.
impossible. Our
have
magnum opus.
Virtua Fighter 5 released in 2011.
The best fighting game on fucking earth. Low punch, bitch. Do it.
Get your LPs in.
Do it.
Oh man. Speaking of not doing it, Bloober Team was in talks to maybe be acquired, get some money, but then they said, "Fuck off, we're going
This was
solo."
Microsoft, right? It had to have been, right?
Yeah, it had to have been. They made a
I
big deal about being part of their showcase for that
Yeah.
thing. That's when they were announced, so it had to have been Microsoft that they were in talks with, and then they decided, nope.
I read this article and instantly I was like, they're not saying who it was, but it was definitely Microsoft. Like, who else could it have been? They have a history with them. I was a little wrong. I want to correct. I said this like ages ago, but to correct myself in something old I said on this podcast back when I was playing. I mean, you might hear my dog barking in the background, by the way. I apologize. Something I said weeks ago was that Microsoft had published the Medium. I was actually incorrect on that. I think they just helped market it or something because it was like Xbox only on console, but they did not actually publish it. Regardless, they had ties to Microsoft with the Medium, regardless of how strong they were. This had to have been Microsoft trying to buy them because we know Microsoft's buying shit up. And clearly they considered it and then said no for whatever reason. Which is fine. I'm not like... If it was Microsoft attempting to buy Bloober Team, I don't think they lost anything insane by Bloober Team saying no. Like, Bloober Team's cool, but from what I understand, their games are a little divisive when it comes to the quality of them, and I wasn't wowed by the Medium. So, like, whatever. I don't think Microsoft lost out by Bloober Team saying no. But it's interesting to think that behind the scenes, even if we're not hearing about it, assuming I'm correct, Microsoft is clearly still trying to pull a Bethesda acquisition. Who else will they purchase in the near future successfully?
Sega.
That's the big speculation. Oh my god, what if all this VF shit? Oh my god.
Microsoft just kicks Killer Instinct under the rug, and it's like, look, it's our fighting game.
It's
Virtua
Virtua
Fighter.
Fighter. I mean, yeah, they don't give a shit about KI, clearly. Because nothing's happening with that. Unfortunately.
They buy Sega, and it's not for Virtual Fighter, but it's for like fucking Battle Arena Toshinden or some other ancient ass shit.
We want Sonic. Gotta go fast.
Make a game where Sonic fights Halo. That he's called Master Chief. It's called Halo.
Yeah, he fights Halo Man.
Their own execs don't even know their characters' names.
Doom Guy fights Halo Man. And then they have to team up to fight Blue Hedgehog.
It gets invaded by this Eggman character.
And then all three of them gotta team up.
Because they're good. And
It's gonna be sick.
we'll have an Easter egg where you just shit on Mario in the corner.
Are you listening, Phil Spencer? I hope you are.
Are you one of our normal 8 viewers?
And even though Doom Guy's in it, it'll be rated T for teen, because they'll just be fighting like robots the whole time.
Yeah, it'll just be ripping, tearing robots is the whole thing.
There'll be like black juices and stuff. And like,
then both Master Chief and Doom Guy take off their helmets to enjoy a chili dog with the blue hedgehog.
Crack open a cold one with the hedgehog.
The hell
We need to stop. This is the worst tirade we've ever been on.
It's not even really that funny. Next is Titanfall Man in Apex, supposedly.
Yeah,
There's a
supposedly.
big old tweet, Apex Legends News, who I don't even know if they're real, but they're like, hey, game director's like, if you like Titanfall, look at Season 9. Season 9's gonna be fucking dope. And then a WebM leaked of what looks like a Titan being called in to just be like an ultimate move where he drops in and he's like basically a turret, and then he self-destructs after a time.
Respawn's been hinting at the possibility of Titanfall stuff coming in Apex at some point. We just didn't know when. And there were leaks previously that hinted at it quite strongly, assuming that they were real. And you could assume that they are because I believe it was an old leak that had a picture of the character select screen with a bunch of legends on it who are not in the game at the time. And one of them was Fuse, who came out this season, which lends credence to that leak probably being real. And on that leak was a guy from Titanfall 2's campaign. I believe he was the villain. And he was also in an actual cinematic trailer for Apex. So, like, he's been hinted at. He was in this leak. And now this dude is saying that he's going to be in the next season and he showed off an ability. It seems possible that we're actually getting like a real Titanfall tie-in with like an actual pilot as a playable character. I mean, like the Titan thing looked kind of jank, but it could have been early. So like, I really can't say that I like it or dislike it until I actually see him in the game, which he probably will be in like a few weeks' time. Because I think the current season is almost over. So if this is true, we'll find out soon. And I'm kind of excited about it, to be honest. It seems like Apex's current development strategy is to have a season that's not massive in scope, but like adds a legend, makes some map changes, and then like the season after that is huge. Because that's kind of what they've been doing. Where like the season before this one, they put in a brand new map with a new hero. This season was just here's Fuse and we'll change an existing map. Next season might be here's a Titanfall tie-in with something massive besides just this new hero. So I'm interested. I hope he's not dog shit. Apex has this really bad problem where there's like 2 or 3 heroes that are meta and the rest of them are pretty dog shit in comparison, just in terms of viability. So I hope
We'll
this new
see.
guy is good.
I just want Titanfall.
Yeah, a lot of people do, but you're not gonna get it.
I
So
know. So hopefully this is close enough. Hopefully he has a passive where he could wall run, and then you got your Titan probably as your ultimate. I don't know.
supposedly his abilities leaked, and I didn't see a passive that let him wall run. But Revenant's abilities leaked before he came out, and they turned out to not be 100% accurate. So you never know. You never know what he's gonna have.
So I would play as Titanfall man, just to style on fools.
Gotta get your practice in. People are quite good at Apex.
Yeah, but they're not me.
If this leak is true, I mean, I always tend to jump back into Apex around the start of a new season. I will very likely play it and try him out.
And that's the news.
Really? We didn't have anything else?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that was it.
Wow.
We spent a long time ranting about Kong versus Godzilla.
It's kind of
Oh, for a
amazing.
good reason.
We talked about like a lot of shit, and we went on a couple of tangents, and we had one long ass rant, but we're still only slightly over 3 hours. This is pretty good for us.
Nice.
Not
Thanks
bad.
for listening, everyone.
I hate
Rob's
all
gotta
of you.
watch The Witcher, so we're leaving.
I hate all of you, but
Basically.
I fucking hate all of you, but I don't hate you as much as we all collectively hate Godzilla versus Kong.
It's true.
Big rip.
Unless you
If you
like
guys like
Godzilla
it, leave a
versus
comment.
Kong, which is in
Tell
case.
us how much we're the low 8% and we're dumb.
Fucking,
All right, good night, everyone.
I hate you too. If you liked it, that's it. Bye bye.